Hello and welcome to episode 11 of Music Relish Podcast, a podcast dedicated to the discussion of music and assorted other subjects. We are on YouTube, so if you like what you see, please like us and subscribe. We will love you forever. We're also on the following podcast sites. We are on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Pocket Cast, and Overcast. So we're out there if you want to see it.
Overcast. That sounds cool.
Sounds like the way it's been around here lately, except for this late afternoon.
Really?
A lot of rain lately.
Yeah, we have it up here, too.
We're entering monsoon season.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I've been down there in September.
So we have 8 minutes to impress anyone who has a short attention span. So you want to just jump right into things?
Don't let me talk.
How are you,
tonight,
fellas? Hi,
how are you doing? How you guys doing?
Doing good. How you doing, Perry? How you doing,
feeling
Lou?
good. I think we're going to have an upbeat show, unlike last week where I brought everyone down, man.
You did.
With the fire, but it had to be stated. It had to be put out there.
And you keep bringing it up though. You're just talking about it again.
Well,
all right.
Tonight we're
supposed to be lighthearted.
Well, tonight we're going to here. What's more lighthearted than trains, railroad songs? Right?
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, you know what? We're going, man. We're going. And we're also going to talk about some records from the year 1990.
Yeah.
And also, Mark and Lou are going to review the John Prine album, The Missing Years.
But not necessarily in that order.
Not necessarily in that order. But also, we're going to talk a little bit about maybe Daniel Lanois.
That's good, yeah.
And you have a guitar player that you wanted to mention for a bit, right?
I do.
What's his name?
His name is Elliot Randall.
Elliot Randall.
Mark knew about him. I think I had, but just a cool little story. It sounds like an interesting guy, but he's got a couple distinctions in the realm of rock music.
Cool.
He was a guitar player.
Cool. Check out my coffee mug.
Where are you getting all this stuff? All right, so
on the other side, I have a monkey in a tuxedo, a chimpanzee in a tuxedo.
And all of you out there in TV land, you too can get a Music Relish Podcast coffee mug. But you don't have to put just coffee in it because he doesn't have coffee.
No, we'll have water.
And me and Lou don't have any swag. This is like really.
I know.
Well, so you want to get into the train tunes?
Yes.
Yeah. But, relation to all these train songs, I think the idea was that these writers were using trains and movement in trains as a metaphor for other things, like a lot of writing in music. It's not direct, like, I got on a train to go to San Francisco or Memphis. It was a metaphor for freedom, rebellion, stolen and lost love. I mean, there's...
Right. In fact, like, for instance, from John Fogerty's record, Center Field, right? He has a Big Train from Memphis is the song. The Big Train from Memphis is Elvis. So it's a metaphor.
Right.
The Big Train from Memphis is Elvis in that song.
Very cool. And Memphis is, I wonder if that's the most used song in like a lot of rock music.
Even English fans.
Yeah, was it
All the Way to Memphis?
All the way to Memphis, Bob the Hoople. Yeah. Granted, I mean, that's where Elvis is from, but it's a music town. One of them, the big American music town.
Well, let me give you a little sample of Big Train from John Fogerty anyway, right? While we're here.
Okay. Be careful.
I know.
Lance is listening.
From Memphis, now gone.
Big Train from Memphis. Now he's gone. It's Elvis. Yeah.
Hear that bass line. Doom, 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 doom.
Yeah. Well,
and
he probably...
that drum beat, too. And that's a train beat,
Yeah. Now, on that album, Center Field, did he play all the instruments on that one? Because it sounds like him on drums.
It does.
Very stiff.
It does. Hey, it is. He's not a great drummer, but he's good enough, Old man down the road.
Enough to make a record, yeah.
Since I do have a theory that most guitar players don't really play drums very well, except Paul McCartney.
I like to play drums, but I can't use my feet.
You're a conga player.
Defeats its own purpose.
No, it's because I can't roller skate. I can't ice skate. Can't ski. That's why I can't use my feet. I'm playing drums.
I'm in your club.
Who's got a train song?
I got one. Literally.
What have you got?
It's a literal song, not a metaphor. as you knew I was going to do this, City of New Orleans, Willie Nelson, and has Mickey Raphael playing the harmonica, doing a train sound on the harmonica. Magical song. Just
wow.
Very good.
I've got a little sample here by the guy who wrote it, Steve Goodman.
Ah.
Morning America.
Riding along the city of New Orleans, Illinois Central Monday morning rain.
That's the version of the guy who wrote it, Steve Goodman, late great Steve Goodman, a great friend of John Prine, by the way.
Really?
Great friends.
Yeah.
They supported each other on shows and all kinds of things. Yep.
I think I reading about John Prine. Yeah. No surprise, really.
Really.
That's a classic American song.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah. But it's been recorded by, I think the radio hit was the one by Arlo Guthrie. Am I wrong about that, or am I
Right
right?
about that.
Right?
You're right about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
that
always
was
think
really
of Willie.
that was really produced well for radio.
Yeah.
Arlo Guthrie, I think last year he basically said no more playing, no more touring.
Really?
He
Yeah.
retired.
It can be a toll, but
He's
even
just
so,
hanging out in New England. He's on the farm. I see pictures posted constantly.
Yeah,
Why
absolutely,
not,
yeah.
right?
It's not a bad thing. He's just like,
Yeah.
It's kind of cool because being Woody Guthrie's son, he's someone who carved his own path,
Yeah.
and made his own mark in the shadow. Maybe not in the shadow of that, but Dad was Woody Guthrie.
Maybe we'll cover Mermaid Avenue sessions in a future show, right?
Yeah.
Well, why not? Why not?
Yeah.
I got one.
Who's got a train song for me?
I do.
What have you got?
It is a no shock to you guys. It is Train Leaves Here This Morning.
Oh yeah,
Two versions we
Dillard
know.
and Clark. Yep.
Dillard and Clark. Written by Gene Clark and Bernie Ledden, and then covered in '72 on the Eagles' first album, sung by Bernie.
Too bad I have a sample of it here, but I deleted it after the show. Yeah.
Right.
Had a great song though.
It is a great song. The train references coming in, and as I laughed as the smoker passed along, and I laughed as the Joker said, "Move on." But there's movement. There's the train in movement going from one place to another.
Right.
It sounds like there was something didn't work out in that song for him. But he's got the address written on his sleeve, so he's leaving town on a train.
Right. Like, I wouldn't dare play Gordon Lightfoot, Canadian Railway Trilogy. It's great. You're right.
If you could get away with just 8 notes of that somehow, but that's such a beautiful song.
Yeah. I've got one here if you want to hear it. It's one of my faves, the International Submarine Band, written by Graham Parsons, called Luxury Liner.
Around. Everybody ought to know what's on my mind.
This is the best part. These changes.
You think I'm lonesome, so do I, so do I.
It's all reminiscent of Gene Clark and all those sort of right?
Yeah.
And that drum beat. It's the same. It's a driving, either doing that shuffle thing or you're doing the locomotive snare. But,
Now that was 1968, just before he joined the Byrds for Sweetheart of the Rodeo. But there was a contract. He was still under contract to whoever they signed with for the International Submarine Band. That's why they had to almost edit him out of as far as singing on the Sweetheart of the Rodeo.
Right.
Can't really identify that it's Graham Parsons, except on the bootlegs, rather than the box sets.
And they're not to be confused with the International Silver String Submarine Band from the Little Rascals.
It's funny that Graham Parsons also had the Flying Burrito Brothers, and that was a cover band, and they bought the title from this cover band.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
Flying Burrito Brothers. Yeah.
That's great. That's a great name.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I'm very disdainful of most band names, but there's certain ones where that's really good. That was good.
Mark, you're up. Have you got one? Don't play Casey Jones. Don't do it.
That was on my list, but
don't play Riding That Train.
Perry,
Riding That Train high on cocaine. That's a classic.
Perry, I got a 24-minute version live. It's just it's a tasty biscuit. You'll love
Shoot me now.
Well, hearing the opening notes to that song makes me cringe.
it. I love how the drums coming up. Anyway, no,
I like that one too, Mark.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's in that classic Dead period for me that I do like. I don't mind.
Yeah.
I think it's very good.
Actually,
Yeah.
But
I like the drums on the studio. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's like it's got a rat-tat-tat,
Yeah.
That was oddly enough, really quick. That wasn't what I was going to say. That was a
You don't have to
period
rush.
when
What have you
Bill Kreutzmann was the only drummer because Mickey Hart had to drop out of the band because his dad stole a lot of money from the band. So they were a one-drummer band for about 4 years.
Really?
Wow.
If you see the Grateful Dead movie, it's just Bill Kreutzmann up there. Mickey Hart's not part of the band. So he was shamed.
Wow.
He left, They asked him to come back. Well, my thing, what was going to come up next, though, was People Get Ready by The Impressions. Or, if you, like me, you grew up with the Rod Stewart version with Jeff Beck on guitar.
That's a great version.
There's a train
great
coming.
version, yeah.
And that's a great metaphor.
Yeah.
Yes, there's both of them. That's heavy. I wonder who wrote
And that was written by
Is that Curtis Mayfield written?
Curtis Mayfield. Yep.
He was great.
He was great.
He was great.
Yeah.
Prince learned a lot from him.
Didn't you call him a second-rate Curtis Mayfield?
A two-bit. I once called him a two-bit Curtis Mayfield. Yeah.
Same thing.
Was that string of angry
But I've
shows?
changed my ways. All right, who's next? Who's got another one?
I got one. It's an old classic. It is Mystery Train. Mystery Train rolling round. There you go. Nice.
Train alright.
We better
Right.
leave it at that.
You
We
leave it
all
at
know
that,
that
brother.
song, covered by many, many people, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I got
The
it.
band has a great version.
Yeah.
of
Yes.
Last
Well,
Waltz.
no.
right?
Actually, also they covered it on their Moondog Matinee cover album that they did.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they did. That's a great version too. There's two drummers. There's Levon and Billy Mundy from the Mothers of Invention are both playing drums. One of them is playing the stuff backwards while Levon is. It's like a reverse. One guy's
It wasn't
playing
the guy from Lost in Space. Wasn't
No,
that
that's Bill Mooney, who did Roly Poly Fish Heads, Eat Them Up, Yum.
But the from the Last Waltz, Paul Butterfield's playing with the band, right?
Yeah,
They're
he's
doing
playing
Mr.
harmonica.
Train.
Yeah. Levon sings both versions, but they do it. The band did it great. I mean, the Last Waltz version is great. Their version of Moondog Matinee is great. That's another
I've
one.
got
Well, in speaking of the train theme, the train stole my baby. It took took his woman away. In reality, it was something else took his woman away. But the train is the means for her to go from point A to point B. But
And the metaphor.
Yeah,
I've got a little sample of one here. No explanation necessary. No, go ahead, Lou.
Elvis's early work was great. Whatever he became after that was a tragedy. But
In fact,
his early stuff was real.
Yeah.
It was very real.
I saw Jack White the other day on watching some video and some documentary, and he bought an acetate of Elvis from Sun Records.
Wow.
An acetate that's from 1955 or 54 or whenever it was, and he was having it digitally transferred.
Wow.
In Nashville by a person who does that for a living.
Handle with care. Wow.
Yeah, lock that acetate away.
So he had the acetate. He had the acetates there,
coffee on it,
and the little label was coming up. So he got a little knife and he lifted it up, and you can see the Sun Record logo underneath.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sam Phillips was a visionary.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
All right, let me play this one for you. No explanation necessary.
You're getting two in a row then, aren't you?
I was riding number 9, heading south from Caroline. I heard that long
Lonesome Whistle, Hank Williams.
Hank Williams. That might be protected by somebody somewhere. We're pushing the envelope a little bit on length.
Yeah, we're gonna have an edited show. We're gonna have a three-piece show. We're gonna have a show on. We won't have train songs on there. The other subjects.
Have to take a Ginsu knife to this thing. Yeah, that song. I feel lonesome. Just you feel lonesome just hearing that. It's just
Yeah.
that,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
But
when he goes,
great recording.
wah, 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 sound like a train whistle. You know, along who's got one?
I'm going to stick with the R&B. The OJs with Love Train.
Love Train, get on
Yeah.
board. Love Train.
Happy
Love
song.
Train.
I love that song.
It's a happy song. Down in Africa.
Yeah.
That's a great one. That was on my list. Nice. Oh yeah. I got
I'm
one.
crossing a lot off as you guys talk.
Johnny Cash, Blue Train. Going around a blue train, going around a blue train.
Yeah. Yep.
Down.
Now, he also recorded Midnight Special. A lot of people recorded Midnight Special. Lead Belly.
Yeah.
So
Right.
Blue Train
it's the
was
same song that CCR recorded?
Same
Same, okay.
song. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Midnight Special, you know what it is, right? It's a train heading to the prison
Right.
for the family to visit the prisoners, and the train had the light on it. So, in
Ever
fact,
loving light.
let me bring in the locomotive for the.
There you go.
segment.
Nice.
All right.
Woo-hoo!
So so the light on the front of the locomotive was the Midnight Special. Shine the light on me. Let the midnight right. So
Right.
that's what that was. Lead Belly.
Nice. And actually, I mean, there are a lot of good versions of that done. Johnny Rivers, his version was the theme for the Midnight Special TV show, the rock show, late night show in the 70s. So that was Johnny Rivers.
Yeah,
But,
that's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, Perry, as songwriters, you and I had something we used to call the train song, but I don't think there's anything locomotive mentioned. It just has that rhythm. Was that something
That was
else?
called Threes. That was called Threes.
No, that
wasn't
became
it?
the song Threes. Yeah, we used to call it the train song before we had lyrics.
Yeah, because you did that shuffle beat. That
Yeah,
right.
Yep. And that's the locomotive snare, like that Jethro Tull song.
Who's got another one? A railroad song.
I got one. Oh,
yeah,
it was
go ahead. You go.
Riding that train,
Oh,
high on cocaine.
There's
Propane.
some, I mean, I'm going to say Blackfoot. Train. That's that's a weird form of Southern rock. They're one of the originals, but that is a good song. If you listen to the guitars, it's kind of.
Who are they? They're the ones that did Jim Dandy to the Rescue.
No, Blackfoot was early member, the medley. Ricky Medlock. He was an early member of Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Yeah.
So I think he's on the first record or two. I think, but I think they're
yeah.
At one point. I think so. Blackfoot is two Medlock brothers, and it's swampy Southern rock, but they can play. But actually, that song "Train" has some great playing on it.
Mm-hmm.
Southern rock. It's interesting. We've never touched upon it too much. I know our friends at Milk Crates and Turntables have done Southern fried rock, but it was a big thing.
It was definitely a unique genre that disappeared. It disappeared as fast as it came in.
I think after the mid '80s, that mid '70s to mid '80s, it was maybe a 10-year lifespan. But when they became a little slick, like what's that band?
38 Special.
No, not Molly Crew. I think Molly Hatchet.
Molly Hatchet. Yeah.
That to me at that point was getting kind of weird. Southern rock was getting kind of weird then. It was.
I saw them open up for the Outlaws, and it was
Oh, you did, yeah.
The high point was that song.
And I saw the Outlaws.
Oh, you did? Yeah, see now all these bands, they started to turn like hard rock in the 80s, and they became kind of like no face to their music.
Yeah.
But say the Outlaws, look at the Outlaws. That was a really good Southern rock band.
Yeah,
good melodies, good tunes.
I saw them
at Molly Hatchet was more basic, it was a wild.
It was kind of a slick. They had some other stuff. It just didn't. I didn't like the sound of it anyway. Mm-hmm. I saw the Outlaws at Seton Hall University in Newark, New Jersey, South Orange, when I went there, and that was a good show. I mean, it was good. It was in a smaller school venue, the theater there, but that was pretty wild. But 3 guitars, but Southern rock was about those guitars and stuff like that.
3 guitars, 2 drummers, right?
And oftentimes 38 Special had it, although didn't seem like they needed it. But 38 Special was like a new wave Southern rock band. It was more modern.
So they were Southern pop, even really.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely. Yeah. Well, Jeff Carlisi, the lead guitarist of 38 Special, was in Ben Orr from the Cars, his last band. So when actually he was with Ben Orr, he was one of the people with Ben Orr when he passed away. But that just shows that there's a connection there because
that guy was a good guitar player. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sure. All good musicians.
I've got a train song. I've got a train song, but all you need is to hear the opening bars, and you'll know exactly what it is.
Driver 8. On my
Don't
list.
let that go too far.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, really. That's it. I mean, we're walking the line here, man. We're out on a tightrope.
Like I said, we're going to have to edit this show.
Good story behind that song, what it was about. I just can't remember.
After the segment is over, we'll do the intro again. This way we'll have an intro for the second half of the show.
Well, let's just not do that anymore.
How about that?
Come on, man.
Well, come on. Here, listen to this. Come on.
No, don't. No.
No!
All right, that's enough.
Right? And now that's a midnight train to Georgia.
And actually, most people don't know, that's not Gladys Knight. That was just called End the Pips. You don't remember the remember the SNL skit?
Yes.
No.
It had just the Pips. So all they were doing was the dancing and the backups. There was no lead vocal, but the skit was called End the Pips.
Wow.
Okay. Now, what war movie is that song in? It's a big.
No idea.
Platoon?
No, The Deer Hunter.
Oh.
I think when Christopher Walken is in the
like
bar,
on a wedding scene?
No, it's in Vietnam. After they escaped from the Russian roulette
rat
thing,
pit, yeah.
Which apparently that was a lot of artistic license there, used as metaphor to show the horror and the psychological torment that soldiers go through. But apparently there were no documented cases of captured American soldiers having to play Russian roulette.
That was a brutal scene. That was
the whole thing. Yeah, I mean, and you rooted for them when they got out, didn't you? I mean, come on. Even the whole thing, that was such a tense, great,
absolutely,
scene. Great, sad movie.
It was John Savage, right? And
John Savage, Christopher Walken, and Bobby De Niro.
Bobby De Niro.
Yeah.
Meryl Streep, the late great John Cazale.
Yeah.
Yep.
But Midnight Train to Georgia is playing in the bars. I believe is when Robert De Niro's character comes back to get him. After Robert De Niro made it home, he found out Nicky was still there, so he goes back to get him. And I think it's maybe around that time when Christopher Walken's out of the hospital and before he gets in, maybe before he gets into the Russian roulette games. But man, all right, that got really. We're supposed to have a lighthearted episode, aren't we?
Yeah.
It's a classic movie. Classic.
Yeah,
who's got another railway song?
Where are the other stars? So you just did okay.
I got "Stop This Train" by John Mayer. And I gotta say, it's a very powerful song, and it's about a kid saying, I'm growing up, things are happening fast, my dad's not going to be here forever. Stop this train, Good song.
Okay. I got one.
Shoot.
Bruce Springsteen, Downbound Train, from Born in the USA.
Yeah.
A great song, a great album.
Did Tom Waits write that song?
No, he did Downtown Train. That's on here too. His
Stewart
version
did that song,
and also Patti Smythe.
Oh yeah.
Really?
And all three versions. I mean, even Rod Stewart. He's quite a good singer. Even as slick as he got, but the versions are great. Patti Smith's version's great. Tom Waits' version, of course. Haven't heard all three, but down all those Brooklyn girls. But Bruce's was covered by the Mavericks on the Bruce Cover Me tribute album. The Mavericks, Downbound Train, great version.
Yeah, great version. Yeah, Raul Malo.
And that also has they have a sort of minor key dark feel to them.
Yeah,
Train, the Mystery Train.
Cool. Let me play a little riff here.
Okay.
Oh, that's it. That's all you could do.
We know that's a train song. Long Train Running, right?
Long Train by the Doobie Brothers. Yep. There's so many. This is incredible.
Yeah.
How about Mark?
I was going to say, we don't have to get in trouble if I sing it.
Right.
Shuffling madness of locomotive.
Oh,
Yep.
Getting a little poppy there, a little classic.
I'm going off the rails in a crazy train.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
I. Last Train to Clarksville.
Last Train to Clarksville, yeah. I'm not going to play it.
By the way, backing up.
In fact, I'm moving the locomotive out of the way.
If you back up to Crazy Train, if you listen on headphones, in the very beginning when you hear dun 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 dun,
Yeah.
real quick you'll hear someone burping between each boom, boom,
Really?
boom, boom, Yes, had to have been Ozzy. Had to have been
And
Ozzy.
was it Ozzy belching? Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, now name this percussion instrument that also comes in there.
Vibra-slap.
Either we have a winner.
Wow.
I think they remastered. Didn't they go back and remaster, remix?
Sharon.
Actually, and didn't, was it Robert Trujillo from Metallica
Yeah.
re-recorded?
Yeah, so Sharon didn't want to
really?
give, because Ozzy, those first two albums, it was equal. So she wanted all the money to go to Ozzy.
Yeah.
So she re-recorded it without the rhythm section. And I actually bought one accidentally. And Robert Trujillo, he's a great bassist, but he plays so low. So you're hearing a boom, 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 but it's like slightly out of tune, like, because he's just slapping these loose strings.
Huh, wow.
It was horrible. I mean, the poor guys, they got blamed for it. It was Sharon, and then they re-released it. But Lee Kerslake, the drummer, he also played with Pat Travers. Uriah Heep, yeah. He was dying, like, in the last year of his life, and he just begged Sharon, please give me the gold albums. I was part of that. Please, please. They gave them to him, like, a couple months before he died. Like, he just wanted to be known, like, he was part of that.
Are gold albums actually gold? Like, are they worth?
Yeah, I think they are. But
whatever
it's just
they're
the
worth
point
in,
is,
the weight of gold.
he literally they wrote those songs. Like, he was part of the songwriting process. Like, he just wanted his due, like, to be recognized. And Sharon didn't look good on that one.
It was a great, I mean, in this genre, it's a great album, but the thing is, it was poorly recorded.
Oh, yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
But
You
even
told
still,
me that in the past, yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible. But that was Randy Rhodes's, people were like, who the hell's playing guitar? That was that propulsion for Ozzy, too. That brought him back. Was that a comeback for him?
Yeah, it was. He was, he shouldn't have come back. He was sitting on a couch in a hotel room just drinking. And then you got to give Sharon credit. She got him back on track. Yeah. So it's a double-edged sword when you get mad at her. But if it wasn't for her, he probably would be dead now. Yeah. So but yeah, that was like talk about a totally almost a Cinderella story. And at the same time, Black Sabbath came back too with Ronnie James Dio. So the two of them were doing good.
I'm not familiar with any Sabbath stuff with Dio.
Yeah,
I love it. I'm a real heavy metal guy, so that's like. It's really good stuff. But
Rainbow in the Dark is being played at the ending credit.
I've heard that,
it's on the new Thor movie, Thor: Love and Thunder.
Really?
Yeah. They use Rockstar tracks in a lot of stuff.
That's a Dio song. That's actually
that's Dio.
Song.
That's right.
Yeah.
I
saw a commercial for that Thor movie. It looked like a comedy.
It's goofy as hell. That's another review. So that was with Vinny Appice on drums.
Yes.
Vinny Appice?
Vinny Appice. He's Carmine's brother.
Did you ever meet him? You ever meet him?
No.
Okay, so I went to this the Chance.
He's 4'10", right?
Yeah. He does look like something out of a fairy tale. But
taller than Danny DeVito.
He was in a band called Elf.
Guitar Player did this tour of like guitar greats, but they were like they would only be able to play bars. It was the guy that used to be in Scorpions, Uli John Roth, a couple other guys, and Vinny Appice was the drummer for all the sets. So it was like a 4-hour show. So we're at the Chance in Poughkeepsie, my favorite place, but it's dark, dreary, So he was at the bar, and I went up and just said, "Hey, Vinny, it's nice to meet you." He talks to you like he engages you in a conversation. Meanwhile, he does go out and he plays large theaters with bigger bands, but he's doing this. He just never stops playing. So when he did his drum solo, there's like heating pipes at the back wall of the stage. He's hitting the heating pipes and everything, doing all that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That thing. It was Al Casey, one of the guitar players from the Wrecking Crew. In their heyday, he was saying that because you say yes to gigs until you have to say no. So even though Vinny Appice would play with bigger other people or whomever, they would still play the Chance in Poughkeepsie. And probably
like one in the Vanilla Fudge, or was that his brother? That
was Carmine.
But a drummer, like, he doesn't have writing credits, so it's a job for him. Like, he's got to get out and play, tour. He may be getting some royalties, but he's not getting songwriting royalties. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, didn't he write a few songs with Rod Stewart or something?
That's Carmine. Carmine wrote
Carmine.
Do You Think I'm Sexy? He co-wrote.
Wow,
so he's living off that.
Did he co-write Hot Legs?
Maybe.
I don't know. I think it was only Do You Think I'm Sexy.
That's a rock and roll number, though. Hot Legs.
Great song.
Yeah, right? Oh yeah,
that's rock and roll.
It sounds like almost like the Faces.
It does a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've deviated from our septum here.
That's okay. So, all right, let's leave the train songs behind, and you want to go into the records of 1990?
Yeah, it's just I came across. I was reading.
We didn't
up on
mention
some
"Train in
90s.
Vain" by the Clash.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
all.
Train in
That's
Vain
all.
by the Clash. Yeah.
Runaway Train by Soul Asylum.
Yes.
Well, there's a metaphor, right? Runaway train is the girl running away or something, right?
And Train in Vain too. Yep. It's a metaphor for a train that's in vain.
Like Mama Rat.
Yeah, so I've been thinking a lot, I guess, on Scott's show on Milk Crates and Turntables, they mentioned the 90s, and I had to say, I dropped out of music in the 90s. Like, I really didn't listen to much. But I looked at a list, like 1990, I was still into music like I was when I was a teenager, going to midnight, buying some releases when they came out. So I looked at albums that were released. It was kind of interesting at that point in time. And there were like 5 releases that are really like big to me, or they were. But I just want to mention a few, 1990, Black Crowes released their debut album, Shake Your Moneymaker. And that was a huge album.
Yeah.
And it was like we had the hair metal going on, so they were marketed as a hair metal band, but they were just they were like Stones, but they had the big poofy hair in the beginning.
I didn't connect those with that LA.
I wouldn't either. No.
Go-go boots and tights scene
They were
at
they
all.
were putting them on that, what was that MTV show with the heavy metal videos? They were always on.
Headbangers Ball.
Album. Yeah, they were on. They were trying. That was the record label marketing them as that.
Yeah.
I think they got better with age. I think that they really. I like them.
Headbangers Balls.
Ricky Rocket. So another album. This is one of Perry's favorite bands. He tells me how much he likes them. Damn Yankees came out that year.
Love them. Yeah.
He's got their whole record.
Ted Nugent, right? Is that the band?
Tommy Shaw, Jack Blades from Night Ranger.
Jack Blades.
Yeah.
Who
But that was,
who were the other 2 victims in the band? What was
There was a drummer. I don't remember his
drummer.
name.
Who were the drummer and bass player? Yeah.
Bass player was
Kelly?
Jack Blades from Night Ranger.
No, that's right. That's right. He's the bass player.
Yeah.
And was Ted Nugent in the band, like taking a paycheck for the power ballad?
I gotta tell you, that song "Higher," it's actually a really good song. It's a good Tommy Shaw song. His solos in that are out. His solo.
Don't be Eddie Trunk.
Oh,
It's not
I
a good
like that song. I do. Perry, this is it. I disagree with you. I disagree. No, but when you listen to this song, you got this nice ballad, and here's Ted Nugent just doing dive bombs, the whammy. It's like, come on, stop. I hated it when I was in 1990. I was like,
He's a
that's
shit
what the
guitar player
whammy
anyway.
are, right? You do that, right? With the
Yep.
Yep.
It's the wiggle stick.
And another
I know
album.
a guy called that a bozo bar.
I just called it a wanker. Robert Plant released Manic Nirvana that year, and I do remember that because I walked into Music Merchant in Westwood, New Jersey. John Schleipek, the owner, was there, and he said, "Did you hear the new Robert Plant?" And I said, "No." And he said, "It sounds like fingernails on a blackboard." I hate it.
Wow.
So when John didn't like an album, I knew I would like it, right? So I said, "Give me one." I bought it. I brought it home. It was good. I liked it. He was starting to get like heavy.
Was that Robert Plant's first solo effort?
No.
Zeppelin?
No.
So, this
that was early 80s. Was it?
Oh, that's right.
First solo stuff, early 80s.
Bonzo died in 79.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he put out
82, the Principle of Moments.
Yeah. And then he did he was very
great.
popish in the 80s. Great albums. Yeah.
They were great.
Yeah.
They were great. He found a
He
great
had some
guitar
really
player.
great records, yeah.
That Robbie Blunt was the guitar player.
I don't know what happened to him, but he was a great guitar player.
He was great. That was a great. I thought that was a great pair up.
Yep.
What I admire about Robert Plant. No, go ahead, Lou.
The songs that you mentioned, the album you mentioned, Mark. What's the songs on that?
There was nothing that was on the radio, but he was starting to get back into. It was one reviewer, I think Rolling Stone may have said it, but don't quote me on that. Is that it was his one return to cock rock. He was kind of trying to do his Zeppelin stuff again. The cover of the album, yeah, but it wasn't.
That's a term like that is why kids can't listen to our show.
Well,
we are an educational show. You guys were planting the F-bomb my first time on the show. Come on.
Absolutely.
That's different. That's different. Kids have heard that, but
it's a genre. It's just like crat rock. It's out there from the multitude. I have a 16-year-old son. He wouldn't bat an eye at that.
Sopranos ruined everybody. Yeah, but so it was a good album. I mean, it's true. John had a point. It wasn't full of these pop tunes or anything, but it's on retrospect. Whatever Robert Plant does, it's good. Like he knows how to shake it
I
up.
admire the way he changes his singing style.
Yeah.
You know, he's not always going to be Robert. That's Led Zeppelin. Robert Plant is different than a guy who admires Elvis and grew up on these. You know what I mean?
Oh, there's the whole blues thing. Well, that guy is he's gone in a sense because he grew out he grew out of that voice and into another one.
Yeah,
it's the older voice. So you can't hit those notes. You can't. And he was freakish. He was like a banshee. I mean, opera singers don't stay like that forever either. You know?
Right.
Geddy Lee can no longer do what he used to do.
Right.
He can come close though.
He can come close. Yeah. So
I think Robert Plant, when they did the reunion, the Led Zeppelin reunion at O2 Arena, the way he sang the songs, I was like, how is he going to do this? He really did a great job with that. Like, he didn't scream at all, but he handled the songs very well. Yeah.
It's all how you do. At that point, it's how you carry the song at that point, how you readapt it, you know? So,
yeah.
Like the Rush song, Losing It.
Yeah.
I don't know that one.
It's a song it's a great song, very melancholy, beautiful song. It's
I have my own family, Senator.
Oh my God! No, I think you do know, Mr. Corleone, and you killed at the behest of your superiors.
That was great. Emmy Award winning. Yeah,
thank you. I play a good senator. Oh. That's why you have to go like this.
The lawyers for those people clapping are now calling the Music Relish podcast. So I always wish Robert Plant had told Roger Daltrey, dude, you can't sing it anymore. Calm down. But Daltrey's a perfect example. Like,
has he changed the way he sings, Daltrey?
Yeah, but he went too late, I think, in his career trying to sound like the 70s Daltrey.
That's why they should just play Face Dances. Don't Let Go. Those are just little pop songs that he can do at 80 years old or whatever, right?
Yeah.
If he can no longer be a belter, how would he adapt?
Right. Like, how's he going to do Love, Rain, or Me?
Or does he play do twitchy songs now? Like a lot of the major singers of that time did albums of mellower material. Glenn Frey did one. He did one of those
really
slick, nightclubby things. He did The Shadow of Your Smile. And he did it great. It was great, but yeah.
They should all do it like William Shatner and Telly Savalas. Love, Rain.
There's a couple where Telly actually sang, big she is, though. Rocker.
Hey, Telly's the coolest.
Stavros, hook the perp.
I'm hooked. My local Get TV has...
I may parody a spit take.
Come on, man, I'm going to choke. I almost spit take my own camera.
Yeah, beer tastes real hard up the nose, I'll tell you what.
Sparkling water.
No, it's water. It's sparkling mineral water. I drink it from Italy and from France. I won't say the names.
Cracker.
Oh. Do you drink it with your finger extended?
No, I drink it in my music relish.
You know what Evian spells backwards? Naive. It's Mr. You're using Mr. Jiggs' license, Mark.
Mr. Jiggs.
Mark, you lived in Hillsdale. Remember Mr. Jiggs? So, listeners,
who used to smoke.
Mark went to school actually with a performing chimpanzee that smoked cigars and rode a bicycle.
Remember him well. We hung out. I had my first beer with him.
I heard you bullied him a lot.
He bullied me. Everybody bullied me.
An adult male chimpanzee has the strength of 5 grown men.
Mm-hmm.
That's messed up.
Really? Can rip somebody's face off, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and they will. They mess with chimps. Mess with it. They'll pull your ding dong off.
It happened in Connecticut. Some woman had her face torn off.
You can say the C word, Lou. Say it. They'll rip your wad off.
No, I'm not going to. Those things will swim up your dick. All right.
All right. So let's get this back on track here.
1990.
Let's get this mystery train back on track.
Here's to put in place what that year was. Billy Idol came out with an album I had no interest in. Charmed Life. It had that song Cradle of Love, which I thought was just...
What song was it called?
Cradle of Love. It was in a movie. And it was like his last big hit. And it was after he lost Steve Stevens on guitar. But there were some forgettable albums. But that's how I placed that year. Yeah. What was on MTV?
That was pretty slick. That could be Charlie Sexton doing that song.
Yep. And I find it ironic that in 77, when Led Zeppelin were rehearsing, he was outside when he was in Generation X as a punk, calling them dinosaurs when they walked out of their rehearsal studio. He became a dinosaur, you know?
Yeah. And they're playing himself in a movie. He was in The Wedding Singer. He's in he's in an airplane. There's an airplane scene with Billy. It was good. It was funny, you know.
Yeah.
Didn't take himself too seriously, but
Who's the guy that produced David Bowie? Let's Dance.
Nile Rodgers.
Nile Rodgers. You've heard that story he tells, right? Where he was in David wanted to record in Switzerland, so he just happened to be in Switzerland in a bar, and Billy Idol was at the bar.
Huh.
And Billy and Nile Rodgers,
yeah,
they're talking, and Billy Idol says, "That's David Bowie over there. It's David Bowie." So
was he being a dick?
So Niles says he went to chat David up, and David says to him, "I want you to do what you do, is make some hits for me," and that's what. Then he produced Let's Dance. Yep.
Well, did you ever hear the story about the song Let's Dance? Niles does a great interview where he plays it the way David Bowie presents it to him. It wouldn't have been a hit. And I think he had to argue with him, like, no, this is what we're going to do with this song. And Niall made it a hit because the Bowie version was just like not that good.
Well, he tells the story, excuse me. So we're going off this little side road here anyway.
That's what we do.
Nile Rodgers tells the story that he said David came to his room with a 12-string guitar with 5 strings on it and played him what he thought would be Let's Dance.
Wow. That's an interesting story.
Yep. Played him the riff to, Let's Dance. And I guess Niles knew what he did. Yeah. But Billy Idol says, that's David Bowie. That's David Bowie.
I wonder if that was out of disrespect.
Like mock punk disrespect,
Bowie.
If you check it out, on his first album, Billy Idol's first album, Hot in the City is not punk. It's a pop song.
Right.
A lot of people could have done that, but some of his Billy Idol's early stuff's pretty good. I mean, White Wedding is a good song.
What's the one? Hey, little sister, what
White
Wedding. White Wedding.
Yeah, that was with that guy Steve Stevens on guitar, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that was a big number. That was a great number. Yeah.
And I played on that drummer's drum kit at the bitter end at an open mic thing.
What do you mean you played on the drummer's drum kit?
One time in the area. Well, he got fired. He left that band, or he got fired. He got replaced by Tommy Price, who was a drummer in Scandal. He's a drummer on The Warrior. He's also on a Blue Oyster Cult record, but it's got Tommy Price replaced this guy. I forgot his name. But there was an open mic thing at the bitter end in the 80s. Me and my 2 brothers went, and when the guy went to use his drums, he goes, I brought my own cymbals. You had to bring your own cymbals. He goes, you break anything, that cymbal's mine. Like, okay. I'm not going to break anything, and you can't take my cymbal.
Well,
I still have that cymbal.
Like, ding.
No.
David Bowie.
No, it was just a weird thing. Anyway.
Where else were we in 1990?
Rock Stories. 1990.
In 1990, Jeff Lynne put out Armchair Theater, which was basically an offshoot of Traveling Wilburys, his first solo album, and had all the guys from Traveling Wilburys. I didn't like the album. I was really not into that glossy. I even had trouble with Traveling Wilburys because I had that glossy Jeff Lynne production, which at that time I know what you mean. Hear.
Yeah,
I hated that drum sound.
I wasn't a huge fan of his production at that time either.
Yeah. Even like the Tom Petty stuff that he produced, I'm like, it's Jeff Lynne sound,
Yeah.
Mark, that's funny because at that time, I loved Cloud 9. I mean, that brought George Harrison back.
That was
yeah. But there is that sound that really clean, almost like white noise snare drum sound. And like the first he produced Full Moon Fever, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And that stuff, like I love Tom Petty and the Harper, because at that point I said the sound was kind of, I had to get adjusted. But now when I listen back to it, I mean, I'm more forgiving. But at the time I was like, I said, it's that overkill thing too. When someone's producing everything.
That's right. Right. And it was kind of like the Phil Collins, like that unique sound that was just plastered everywhere. The Phil Collins gated drum sound. Yeah. He had the Jeff Lynne drum sound.
I have a correction from last week. I misspoke about. We were talking about drummers. On Peter Gabriel's So record, that's not Omar Hakim. That's Manu Katché. There were 2 sessions. Okay. Yeah, so Omar Hakim did not play on that record, but that was Manu Katché.
Both fantastic. Manu Katché toured with Peter Gabriel, too.
Probably, I think.
Yeah, he did, for a long time. So anyway, moving on. The Allman Brothers reformed and put out 7 Turns. I love that album. And that was the first album with Warren Haynes on guitar, who we all know now is with Government Mule.
Yep.
I grew up a big Allmans fan, so when that came out, I ran out and got it, and I loved it, and I still love it to this day. Southern rock, but in the Allman style.
Warren Haynes is a native of Asheville, North Carolina, where I live.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's from there?
He's from here. You know, he is from here. And every year at the like at the Civic Center, it might be called something else now. They do their Warren Haynes Christmas Jam. So it's a big show in town, and there's a lot of guest artists. It's a big night. Tickets are hard to get.
Does he ever just walk around town? Have you ever seen him walking around?
Does he participate in the drum circle?
No, I doubt it.
No,
unless it's extremely incognito. I don't know, but I think I passed. I think there's a street named after him. I think I passed it on one of my deliveries. If I imagine it. Yeah, but I wouldn't know if he's you've seen what it looks like. Big guy with a beard and long hair, and Asheville is full of that.
Yeah, you might have
but
bumped into
I
him.
did see. Yeah, when I worked at the Whole Foods, the big Whole Foods here in Asheville, I was right next to Zach Galifianakis, shopping in the produce department.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, hey,
he must have had a beard too, right?
Yes, he did.
So what else happened in 1990?
Okay. So Jane's Addiction put out Ritual De Lo Habitual, which
I went to England.
You did?
Oh, we're talking about music.
Yeah. All right. So they put out that album. I liked it because, again, I was getting bored with music. They were different. I didn't follow them, but Been Caught Stealing is one of my favorite songs.
So that was 1990. I always liked that song.
Yeah.
Great sound.
Queen put out their last album with Freddie as singer, Innuendo. Fantastic. I remember when it came out, it hit me the same way that David Bowie's last album came out right before he died. Just hit me like a ton of bricks. I loved it. Very, very good production. Steve Howe played on it. Excellent.
What's on it? Like I Want to Break Free? Is that the song that was on it?
Well, the song Innuendo was on MTV. These Are the Days of Our Lives. You may not know songs that are on it. They didn't have any huge hits, but they were very good. And when Freddie was recording it, he was so weak from HIV that he'd come in the studio, record, he'd have to leave. Like if he did a big vocal performance, he'd have to sit down. It's literally it was line by line, I heard, and in the video for a couple of the songs you see him, he looks very emaciated. So we knew at that point, we knew that he was dying, but when the David Bowie album came out, no one knew, or I didn't know. And then a day after it came out, he died. That bummed me out.
Yeah. I've been hearing Lazarus on the radio quite a few times lately for some reason.
Haunting song.
Yeah, I know. Mm-hmm. It makes me sad.
Video, there's a reference to Uncle Tom. You see the astronaut, in the ruins and everything. Yeah. All right, I'm just gonna go. My albums that hit me big that came out. Living Color, Time's Up. That was their follow-up to their first album. I love every song on that album. Elvis is Dead is a great song. Elvis La Muerte. Excellent, awesome album. Queensryche, Empire. Another one of Perry's favorite albums. I know you just love Empire. At the laundromat, you played it so much, we had to tell you to stop. It was.
They're a weird metal. That's an interesting metal band. There's something. They're different. They're different, but the vocal stylings are very different.
Well, that had that song "Silent Lucidity." Remember that? That was a very Pink Floydish, and Michael came and did the strings on it. But that album, from a mastering standpoint, the compression, it's so good to listen to on headphones. And one of the bonus tracks on the reissue, they covered Scarborough Fair. And so to hear Jeff Tate sing Scarborough Fair, it was very dramatic. Very dramatic.
Okay. Yeah.
That was their pinnacle to me.
I have heard that, Mark.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Perry did too. He won't admit it though.
I mean, I saw it on the radio. I'm like, Scarborough Fair. I'm like, Queensryche. I'm like, but like I said, it's dramatic. Yeah, but it was good. It was good.
And Jeff Tate, he wanted to go in different directions, and that's why eventually they had that very acrimonious split. It was bad. He split from the band. Really? He formed his own Queensryche for a few years, and now I forgot what he calls it now. So I think he calls it Mind Crime or something.
Okay.
Paul Simon put out Rhythm of the Saints, which was the Brazilian version of, what was that album?
Graceland.
Yeah. It had a lot of Brazilian. I like that album. That was good.
I know that song. I'm not sure there's others, but yeah, he's a pioneer.
Yeah, that
and
was.
world
Yeah.
music guy. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
when the originals, you know. Well, a lot of the world music stuff came from that folk element.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. What was that song that Simon and Garfunkel did with the Andean flutes?
El Condor Paso. El Paso.
That was
Condor.
world music in the
Paso,
'60s. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't write it though. That was a Peruvian
standard.
song, and also Pete Seeger could not stand. He was with the South African Awemawe. He hated when they did "In the Jungle, the Mighty Jungle." The Lion
really?
Sleeps Tonight. He hated that. He said you ruined it because it was a traditional South African. It just with all the tribes people singing
Right.
Awemawe, and then somebody slicked it up and popped it up with "The Lion Sleeps Tonight," and he couldn't stand it. Being a folky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or maybe being an old curmudgeon. Old cranky,
No, that
woolly
was a
headed.
long time. He wasn't that old back then.
Neil Young and Crazy Horse put out Ragged Glory. That was a good album.
Wow.
House on the Hill, I think, was on that album.
Okay.
And then to finish it off, 2 heavy metal albums, because I was a metalhead. Megadeth, Rest in Peace. That was a freaking awesome album. Heavier than anything that Metallica did, in my opinion.
Oh.
And Judas Priest finished, the last album with Rob Halford, did Painkiller. And I still remember with my good buddy Steve Stagg driving down I-95 because he lived in Philadelphia. And we were like Wayne's World. We'd put that track on, Painkiller, the song, and we'd be banging our heads in the car while we're playing. I'm surprised we didn't go off the road. 2 great metal albums. It was so you had like it was grunge coming in was right around the door. Judas Priest were making their last big message, we knew metal was on its way out, and then you had these like alternative things coming in, like Jane's Addiction and stuff. So it's an interesting year. Again, it's like 1979. You had the end of one era.
Yeah, it was sort of transitional. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, can I throw in a couple?
Sure.
Yeah.
As far as transition into music, because the 80s, a lot of that stuff in the 80s helped spawn the alternative rock of the 90s and the 80s as well. But Uncle Tupelo's first record came out, No Depression, 1990.
Wow.
Jeff Tweedy. Yeah.
Yep.
Who's the other guy from Sunfold? Jeff Tweedy. Billy Smith. No.
Jay Bennett.
Jay Farrar.
Jay Farrar.
Jay Farrar.
I have their records. Yep.
I knew his name. The Laws put out their only record. That was a one-hit wonder.
That was 1990?
1990. There she
Kenny
goes.
Jones? Kenny Jones?
What's that?
Was that the band with Kenny Jones, The Law?
No, that was a band from Liverpool. Yeah.
Yeah, they were indie band, but they had that hit, There She Goes.
That's
used in
been in
TV
100 movies. Yeah.
And TV commercials. But that was a one album. That was a one-off.
Wow.
They Might Be Giants put out their debut album, Flood.
With our friend on drums.
Ken Nolan.
Don't Let's Start. Their first single, Ken Nolan was the drummer.
Yeah. Ken Nolan, who yelled in my face, F you, F you, F you, F you, this close. And you know why? Because
of that song. Yeah.
That song, I like dreaming, because dreaming can make you mine. I was just goofily singing that one time at work. Perry and I and this guy worked together. He got in my face and told me to F off about 50 times.
That was adult contemporary fluff.
Yeah. That might be a one.
That was like Ambrosia. Yeah.
Ambrosia are a prog band. Their one-offs were very light, slick pop.
I shouldn't have said anything.
You did that on purpose.
Perry,
thumbs up.
I love Ambrosia. Thumbs up.
I heard some interesting stuff. I haven't heard enough to say I'm a fan, but I was like,
I'm riding that train high on cocaine.
Okay. How about Sonic Youth put out Goo. Alice in Chains, their debut album, Facelift.
Wow.
And Mazzy Star, she hangs brightly with that great song, the one that got on MTV, Falling to You. Falling to You?
I think that's it.
Yeah. Going to You. Falling to You. Fade into You. Dang.
That's a good song.
You. Yeah.
It's a good song.
That was a good year. I liked a lot of 90s stuff, Mark. I mean,
yeah. And with me,
I didn't know that I did, but now I know that I did. Yeah.
I
like
was,
Blind Melon. Some of those.
Yeah. Well, I was 3 years out of high school in 1990, so I'm working at CPI with Tom, making cassettes, thinking that I'm going to make cassettes the rest of my life. But then, like I said, after 1990, I started to get tired of music because when you work in music as production, it's just like you start to get tired of it. Like, oh, I don't want to hear this new song. I don't want to hear that new song. So I really totally, like in the 90s, I was buying reissues because CDs at that point, they're starting to reissue old stuff. And I just cut out. I missed a lot of good music in the 90s. You guys have introduced me to a lot of it. I didn't know about Uncle Tupelo. Maybe if I studied
Uncle
music.
Three Below.
Yeah. And Billy
Uncle
Shears was in that band.
Uncle Tupelo was a band I'd see in the Aquarian, and that became the East Coast Rocker magazine.
Yeah, and you said you had a chance to see him, but you passed up on it. Right?
There were many times I said I was gonna go into New York and I'm gonna go see this Uncle Tupelo. We all go into New York every once in a while on a whim, but that was just one time I just never did it. So I wish I had, but what are you gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
What to do? But Perry, you and I went to the famous Maxwell's in Hoboken, New Jersey.
Ooh.
Maxwell's in Hoboken.
We saw the
I've seen a few
Chesterfield
shows
Kings.
there.
You saw, I went there once.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's about all I remember that night.
I don't know if you were there, but I saw, what was that group with Vernon Reid as the guitar player?
Living Color.
Living Color.
They were opening up for someone that I saw at the Ritz, that we saw at the Ritz. I think you were there. And I forgot who it was the Godfathers. I think they were opening up for the Godfathers.
That wasn't me.
That wasn't you? Well, anyway, Vernon Reid and Living Color were there. And what a great guitar player that guy is.
I think around 1990 or so, they played the Beacon Theater. And I went to see them with my brothers. And that's when Mellencamp came up out of nowhere. And
Johnny Mellencamp.
Mellencamp. And they did Pink Houses.
Really?
I was like,
really?
That was wild. That was
You're
totally
kidding.
No, totally unexpected. I was there with my brothers Anthony and Todd, and probably a few other dudes. But yeah, we're like, we're gonna bring up a fan. Mellencamp was riding pretty high then, and so here he comes up on stage. It's just kind of rocking, interesting. I wish I could recall what it sounded like, but it was good. And their Music Relish. Like us and subscribe us on YouTube. Send us an email at musicrelishpodcast@gmail.com. Send your cards and letters. It'll warm the cockles of our collective hearts. Enough with the cue cards, Barry.
Living Color were the only time I got caught in a mosh. They played Spring Valley. Spring Valley, New York had a club called World Stage. I saw Zebra there, Robin Trower, B.B. King was there.
Was that near the flea market?
No, it was on Route 45, which ran north and south, but it was an old movie theater. Everybody played there in the 90s. It just it got shut down because nobody wants live music venues anymore around here.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on the front. I wanted to see Living Color, and it was this tour behind this album. That's the second album that I referenced. So I'm up there, and they come out, and you hear the intro to, what was their big hit? Cult of Personality.
Mm-hmm.
So you hear the intro of the speaking, and I'm like, yeah, all right, this is going to be good. I didn't understand how moshes work, but people literally just stand there, and all of a sudden, once the drums come in, you're just getting tossed around. So I just ran back. It scared the crap out of me. But it was a great show. Great. I was enthralled. Yeah. Great bunch of musicians.
He had kind of
Never
residency.
been in a mosh pit. Never been in a mosh pit.
I couldn't do it. I'd flip. If they get me to a club. Vernon Reid used to play. It was either Kenny's Castaways or the Bitter End. He had like kind of a residency there in the 80s before he put together In Living Color. But so he was a local guy.
Yeah.
So are we still in
Your guys' neck of the
1990?
woods.
Like, is there still a ways to go in 1990?
Sinead O'Connor, I do not want what I haven't got.
What did Frank Sinatra call her?
Shinehead, Sinbad, lighten up, baby, you're platinum.
I like Sinead.
She has a great voice. Let's see, maybe the Replacements all shook down, and the Breeders other members of the Pixies who also put out Bossa Nova that year.
Yeah.
Right. Cannonball, that was a great song.
That was a great song. Yeah,
it was Kim Deal and Tracy. I forgot her name from the from Pixies. They did a little side project with Kim Deal's sister Kelly, and had a hit. A song called Cannonball. Great song. Unexpected hit. That became a full-time band for her. That was a good year. I liked the 90s. I was 29 in 1990.
Yeah.
I
saw a little mini documentary on the Deal Sisters.
On the Deal Sisters.
And they'd be on their bus touring, and they got a little 4-track machine, and they just start recording on 4 tracks.
Yeah.
On a 4-track.
that was an oddball little tune with really cool low budget video. You know, they show him playing, then they show this cannonball like rolling down the street with a camera following it.
Yep.
You know?
Well, it worked. That was I liked it. Yeah.
Let's just say that at that time, MTV was actually a positive influence because they were actually breaking some new stuff at that point. You know, you could actually get through with your unique sound if they decided to take you.
Right. And if your song was
go ahead.
If your song was good enough, you know, it wasn't flashy. There wasn't, you know, I mean, it wasn't like glamorous or anything like that. But it was a really catchy, undeniably catchy song with an interesting, quirky video. But you said there was still a place for that. You know, the Replacements had videos. You know, and when that same year they put out All Shook Down in 1990. But you know, that wouldn't lie. I mean, I don't even know what it became. 16 and Pregnant or whatever the shows that they're doing on MTV or have done, and you know,
isn't it an oxymoron to say music television now? I mean,
yeah, it's been like that.
Yeah. I'm wearing the old standard shirt.
There you go.
I want my MTV.
Hey.
Yeah,
Nice.
I think Billy Idol actually when I said I want my MTV,
right?
I think Pete Townsend did one of the earlier ones.
Yeah,
I want my MTV.
Really?
And Chrissy Hynde.
Didn't Train Song?
What?
The Who 515.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, there's a million. Yeah, great song. Yeah, they're great.
So you guys, I sent you a thing the other day that Michael Jackson is Sony ATV, the music publishing company. He was a 50% owner. 50% of Sony ATV music. So Sony bought out the estate of Michael Jackson for $750 million. So Michael Jackson no longer owns Beatles songs, or you know, they bought the estate of Michael Jackson. Sony bought him out, so now they own it outright. But here's the thing: mathematically, it says Sony owns 750,000 songs. So if they paid $750 million on 750,000 songs, how much did they give him per song? I can't do the math. Was it 1,000 a song? Was it 100 a song? I don't know how to.
I'll tell you what. I'm glad they didn't store all the masters in one warehouse. You know.
Right. Where does Sony keep their stuff?
All over the world.
Iron Mountain.
Yeah, Iron Mountain. Atomic packaging.
Sony and Warner's use Iron Mountain.
Yeah.
So what's it called? Iron Mountain Atomic what? Storage?
Iron Mountain Atomic Storage.
So it's Iron Mountain Atomic Storage and Italian Bistro.
There you go.
Iron Mountain actually has 1,500 facilities in the U.S.
You know what, Lou? There's a documentary.
So
there's something on YouTube. I'll send you the link if they show that. What I was telling you about underneath the ground, where there's like a whole community, like a town. I there's something I'll send you. It's really cool to watch.
It's like beneath the Planet of the Apes down there, isn't it?
There you go. There's a guy on an ocean.
Reveal myself to my innermost God.
So they bought out $750 million. They paid the Michael Jackson estate for his 50% stake in Sony ATV Music. 50%. And they own 750,000 songs.
Who owned the other 50%?
Sony.
That's right. No, Sony bought out his share, so they had 50%.
Sony bought
they bought out his 50. That's
they paid off the Michael Jackson estate $750 million.
Yeah.
For the 50% ownership stake that he had in Sony ATV Music.
Michael's children, whatever, they will be taken care of in perpetuity.
Set for life. Yeah.
What did Jermaine get out of that deal?
I don't know if they got anything out of it. I don't know what the Michael Jackson estate is.
The distribution factor was, yeah.
And also, you know, back then when it was up for sale, Paul McCartney could have gotten it for $10 million way back when. Now, apparently, he brought it to Yoko and said, Yoko, we need $5 million from you.
Why didn't he do it?
Because it's John and Paul. He wouldn't do it. He's Paul. You know,
out of respect for John's stake.
Out of respect for John, so he went to Yoko.
He's a notorious skinflint, by the way. He's notoriously cheap. That's what I'm wondering.
He was going to kick in $5, and he asked Yoko to kick in $5. Yoko refused, so they didn't buy it. And this was way back when they could have got it for $10 million.
I'm really surprised Yoko didn't bite on that.
Did you figure she knew? Well, she was a businesswoman. Do you figure she knew she would make more money
She did not want to cough up the $5 million, yeah.
Or she realized they were going to make a lot of money out of royalties using for licensing and stuff, like Nike, for instance.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they can't control that. They can't control that.
Nope,
Yeah,
maybe she didn't. Maybe she didn't want to control it. Maybe she was.
They'll get paid for that, but
yeah,
the copyright owner makes most of the money for that. Yeah, they get a fee.
She had $5 million to do it, but she was going to make more money by not doing it, probably because maybe they wouldn't license the movie.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying it's not a judgment call upon her, but I would think.
You can't license what you don't own. Like you said, right. Paul McCartney owns the Buddy Holly thing, so he licensed that one song to Margaret, what's her name?
Probably others, Martha Stewart. He had no compunction against licensing.
I was going to say Margaret Thatcher, but it's really Martha Stewart. Right?
The Iron Lady herself. Tramp the dirt down. That was the song Elvis Costello wrote about her. Man, that was I think he actually, after the song, he actually did a bodily function onto the grave in his metaphors. Speaking of which, but
really,
that was his indictment of the Thatcher administration.
Well, you know what? When Elvis Costello gets drunk, he says a lot of things that you can't repeat. Yeah,
I think you should repeat the one. Yeah, oh my God, yeah.
And then everyone remembers Roger Waters. Oh, Maggie, what did we do?
Wow.
So Sony bought out the 50% stake, $750 million. That's $750 million.
It's a lot of clams. That's a lot of clams for the Jackson family.
So check this shit out. Gary Busey bought a 1950s J45 that was owned by Buddy Holly. He bought it for $270,000. This is the money he made from doing the movie, the Buddy Holly story, and he bought this guitar.
Wow.
He bought Buddy Holly's acoustic guitar, a Gibson J45.
With the money that he got from playing Buddy Holly?
With the money he got from the movie, yeah.
Wow.
I don't know how much he got, but he had $270,000 to buy a Buddy Holly guitar with it. Yep.
Yeah. Pretty cool. I saw that link you sent me. I started watching some of it, but I haven't gotten that far into it.
Gil Matthews, the drummer from Australia?
I don't know. I saw the intro. I saw a couple songs. But,
yeah, there's
Stevie Nicks. Stevie Nicks is on it. I saw that one.
Oh, that was from Buddy Holly. That was a Buddy Holly tribute.
Yeah. And she sounded really good in that.
Yeah.
She always had a good voice, Stevie Nicks.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I remember one time she was there was some tribute. I forgot who it was. It might have been a tribute to Fleetwood Mac. And one of these singers came out. I don't know who she is. It could have been like Taylor Swift. I think it was Taylor Swift. And she came out and they were doing a famous song that Stevie Nicks sang, and she couldn't do it. She was out of tune. She was way off, and Stevie came out and like right on the ball, man, right on. Stevie Nicks is a singer.
Yeah.
No auto-tune, none of that stuff.
Right.
I also found out, Lou, like all these these modern country artists, how they all sound the same.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They got that thing. You were like impersonating some of these country singers recently, weren't you?
Oh, yeah.
They put auto-tune on their voice, on all of them. That's why they all sound the same. But they tweak it, they threshold it to a point where it's not going to be like that Cher song.
Right.
It's
it sounds warbly.
It sounds a little doubled, and that's the little trick that they use for all these country singers sound the same.
And again,
auto-tune,
this is the music business, what they did to country music.
Yeah,
it's all the record companies.
It's a formula, and maybe stick with it because it makes money. Yeah.
Maybe it's even more nefarious. Maybe there is this thing called, for the men, it's called generic male modern today's country singer voice. And what it does, as you're singing in your voice, it goes underneath you and just adds that thing that makes it sound, it's like a ghost, with that certain sound, that's what they all sound alike. So while they're singing their own voices, there's that generic country male voice underneath. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Like a cyborg double track or something.
But how many Friday nights and pickup trucks can you sing about? I mean, it's all the same stuff.
Everything's Coors Light. Coors Light.
As long as there's Friday nights, those songs will keep on going.
Look, you know what? The old country used to be about pain, about loss. It was very connected to folk music. It was a bunch of sad sacks of crap.
Yeah,
guys, obviously all these singers where they couldn't
lots of heartache.
do a relationship.
Yeah,
right?
lots of
But
heartache.
it was
Yep.
sad.
Yeah.
How did it
Heartache
get to being
and
happy?
yep.
Like it's all
But
happy.
it's different now. Like I
Just
said,
get
it's
out
all
and drive
it's all
and
pickup
drink
trucks.
Coors Light
Yeah.
and
Friday
don't
and
do
Saturday
much in your
night,
life, you know?
drinking some beer. It's always beer. It's never hard liquor like the old days, right?
It wasn't about moonshine.
Right. It's about beer. It's not it's not White Lightning like the old George Jones stuff, right?
And a lot of stuff, it could be product placements and the soundtrack for TV commercials and stuff.
Ford F-150s and Coors Light and yep.
Yeah. Mark, are you back? You skipped out for a second.
I was doing my big pontification on that. I was cursing out the new country singers and didn't get through it. I think Sony froze up my feed there.
Maybe.
So, no, it was probably I probably caused that, man. We're going to get shut. We're not going to have a beginning of a show. Like I said, we're going to have a second half of the show.
We'll
But
see.
so
not on Spotify.
Gil Matthews. It's only YouTube that has a problem with it. Yeah, Gil Matthews. He's a drummer. He's a famous drummer from Australia. Been in a lot of bands, a lot of famous bands. Now, they say he was on tour in the U.S. in 1979, 20 years after Buddy died. And he's been looking for a 54 Stratocaster. So somebody tells him, I know where you can get one. They happen to be like in near Texas and all that. So he goes, I know of a music shop in Lubbock, Texas. We know where Buddy's from, right?
Yeah. Also, the famous insurance company, Lloyd's of Lubbock.
So he goes and he pays $3,500 for a 1954 Stratocaster and Sunburst. And he brings it back to Australia with him after the tour's over. And somebody tells him that he thinks that's Buddy Holly's Stratocaster. Buddy Holly's stolen Stratocaster.
Wow.
From because Buddy had 3 Strats. He had a 54, which was the first year they came out, right? He had a 56 and a 58. They had 3 Strats, Buddy. And, Buddy had an acoustic guitar also. Apparently he had a Les Paul in the early days, but he hated the sound of Les Paul. He traded it in for a Stratocaster. Probably the 54. He had a 52 Les Paul. Probably traded it in for the 54 Strat. But this guy... People claim that this is the 1954 Buddy Holly Stratocaster because had Bakelite pickups on it, and Buddy always did the downstrokes.
Right.
And the pickups would chip away.
Okay.
They used Bakelite back then. Right. And this guy who owns it, Gil Matthews, he never claimed that it was Buddy Holly Stratocaster, but other experts say that it's Buddy Holly Stratocaster. So it's all up there for debate, whether it's Buddy Strat or not.
I wonder how that was inventoried after his death, because his wife, she got his estate because she was, they were married, but maybe he didn't have a large collection, but I wonder what happened, where they were at the time of his death. Where were these guitars? Was that his house?
She's probably the one who sold Gary Busey the J45.
Yeah, right. I would think.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't think, I don't know if he traveled with 3 Stratocasters. Well, one of them is in the Buddy Holly Museum in Lubbock.
Okay.
They say the 56 may be there. And another one might be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the 58.
Wow. Okay.
But nobody knows where the 54 Stratocaster is. And apparently the 54 Stratocaster, Leo Fender, the first ones that he made were all prototypes or something. So and apparently, from what I understand now, the serial numbers, like if you have a low serial number, it really doesn't mean anything because Fender apparently had a bunch of plates, little steel plates with the numbers on it,
right?
And they just grabbed them when they were making them, as opposed, So in other words, 0004 doesn't mean it's the fourth Stratocaster that was ever made.
Bummer.
Yeah. A lot of those companies back then screwed up the serial numbers,
I thought I heard David Gilmour had number 1 or something like that.
I heard that too, but what's that, Mark? Is it true or no? Yeah, I think we lost Mark.
I think Mark has been absorbed into a video game.
Yeah, I think. What was that movie with what's his
Tron
name?
with War Games? No,
Tron.
Jeff Bridges.
he's in Tron.
Mark, you're in an early '80s video game.
We're gonna work this into Mark's frame over there, and we'll go like this. Right?
Yeah, we're good. Stop that.
Yeah, but also, weren't you telling me about a song the other day, Lou, or last week that Jimmy Miller played drums on?
Yeah, it was the Rolling Stones. You can't always get what you want.
You know, Al Cooper played the French horn and organ and piano on that.
He played the French horn.
That's Al Cooper on the French horn.
The Forrest Gump of rock and roll. That's great. Wow.
On that very song, you can't. Oh, that's a great song.
It's funny.
Great song.
On the train segment, I didn't mention there's a Bob Dylan song, and it's a great quote. It takes a lot to laugh. It takes a train to cry. On Highway 61 Revisited.
Yeah.
And Al Cooper, of course, is playing on that. He's playing organ and piano.
But that lovely French horn on "You Can't Always Get What You Want" in the beginning is Al Cooper.
Wow. Okay,
and he plays piano and organ on there. Jimmy Miller plays the drums. So it's a nice drum fills too, by the way.
Yeah, the whole thing is it's this downbeat thing he does. But the thing I don't get, I mean, I can play to it, and if I can play to it, Charlie Watts could play to it better. So they made it sound like that was something where like Charlie couldn't grasp the rhythm that Jimmy Miller wanted while he was producing that track. But Charlie Watts is one of the greats. I don't know. Maybe he just said, maybe there's more to that story because it's just. If I can play it, I think other drummers can play it. Charlie Watts couldn't. He could do amazing other things. He could play Playing It Black, whatever, but he couldn't play that song. So I don't know. I
don't know about that. I think it's just Charlie wasn't available.
And that's what I think. I don't think it was something where he couldn't do it. Of course he could do it.
Yeah.
Might have done something
really
better.
What I think. Yeah. I mean, they're
But-
the Rolling Stones, right? When they were in France, well, Charlie's not available. Mix in Paris. Let's.
Yeah, exactly. Well, also, it's only rock and roll. It's Kenny Jones on drums.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned that last week. Yeah. Who's this guitar player from Steely Dan that you mentioned to me, or you mentioned to me and Mark that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, his name is Elliot Randall, and he was an original member of Steely Dan. See if I can find his stats in my little world here. I did write some stuff down. He's famous for a certain guitar solo. Here it is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was an American guitarist. He was a session player. In his early career, he did some studio work with the Ronettes and the Capris. I forgot what their early '60s hit was. But during the course of that, he'd met Becker and Fagan, did some jamming, played on some sessions. While they were
was he in the band or just like a studio guy that did?
He was. But
he was in the band.
Yeah, but while Becker and Fagan were in Jay and the Americans and doing their session stuff, they were also with them.
I didn't know any of that stuff.
I think they were. Who did the song Tequila?
Who is that? I don't know any Godfather.
Yeah, I know. I can't think. I think they played with. They're not on that song, but they played in that band as a touring band.
Really?
But he's known for playing the guitar solo to Steely Dan's "Reeling in the Years."
That was him.
Yeah, and so apparently, I mean, it's a highly rated guitar solo. It was rated 40th best guitar solo in Guitar World magazine, and the 8th best by Q4 magazine, which I'm not familiar of.
Now, there were two guitar. Was Skunk the other guitar player at that time?
He was in the band at that point. Jeff
but
Skunk
he wasn't
Baxter.
the guy doing it. This is the guy you're talking about, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, that's hard to say. I mean, they might have split that riff up somehow differently. But I mean, that's the riff of the song. But also that guitar solo.
That's the one. That is great. Yeah, that's this guy, right?
Yeah.
I think I saw an old film of that, and I think he was playing a Telecaster.
Wow.
Maybe I'm wrong, but anyway, great guitar solo on that song.
And he's also I can't recall the guitar solo now, but decades later, or a decade later, he's the lead guitarist on the song "Fame" by Irene Cara. Fame, I won't live. I can't think of the guitar solo now.
Really? Yeah.
But other things. But he was a classmate.
Play it, and we can get shut down.
Yeah, we go. Why not? We lost Mark. Mark's coming back. Mark will be back. He's rebooting.
I think he's right. Sony shut him down.
And they came and got him. He's a New Yorker, and he was a classmate of one of my favorite songwriters, and you love her too, Laura Nyro. The late, great, brilliant Laura Nyro. Brilliant.
Laura Nyro. We have to go back into her because she was on one of our old shows.
Yeah,
about songwriter segments, right?
About songwriters that we just happen to love. He was also he wasn't. I don't know if he did the record with these guys, but he played with a band called Druids of Stonehenge. So I've heard of them. I'm going to have to look them up on YouTube. But they did an appearance on the Joe Franklin Show in 1968.
Wow!
You remember the Joe Franklin Show?
I do. Yep, Channel 9, where I used to live. Yeah.
You know, at the time, I remember watching the show thinking, who's this old fogey? You know what I mean? But he was cool, man. He was Mr. New York Entertainment. He was a showbiz encyclopedia, you know, and he was cool.
Yeah, it was low budget. Yeah, it was low budget. Yeah.
Low budget. I think Dee Snider was probably on that show a lot. And he was a New York treasure, you know. I used to when I could watch that show, I loved it. I'm like, he's kind of corny in a way. I said, this guy, like, my dad would like him, you know, but he was cool.
I mean, I think the Ramones were on the Uncle Floyd show one time.
And I think they also did stuff with Joe Franklin.
Absolutely. Really?
Yep. Yeah. Wow. I wonder if there's an archive, those Joe Franklin, or did they burn in the Universal fire?
You know, who knows, man? Who knows?
Yeah, so I wish Mark was back on because there's something he would appreciate. Well, I'll tell him when he comes back. Okay, I got a text. Lost my internet trying to get back on. Okay, Mark, we're waiting for you, buddy. So he's on the first,
trying to get back on. Yep.
Yeah. So Elliot Randall's on the first Steely Dan album, "Can't Buy Me a Thrill," and they asked him to. You know, they had a core band, but they asked him to stay, become permanent, and his comment was he declined that because he said that current lineup will dissolve after 3 albums, and they did.
It did.
He left.
Other than Reelin' in the Years, was what was the other one? Ricky, don't lose that. Is that on there?
I don't know if that's on that. That's 1974. I don't know, but he left at that point. But he's on there. I think the 4th and 5th record. Katie Lied, 1975. That's got Dr. Wu. The Royal Scam. He's on that record too. But at one point,
familiar with.
The Royal Scam. Katie Lied had "Can You Hear Me, Dr. Wu?" Na-na-na-na. You've heard. Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
You do. Yeah, you do. You've heard.
Never heard of it.
All right, you didn't grow up in the 70s. Okay,
that's because I'm riding that train high on cocaine.
Living on Reds, vitamin C, and cocaine. But at one point, Mark would love this. Jeff Porcaro and David Paich asked him to join Toto. And he declined.
Wow, Mark would really appreciate that.
Yeah. So, and Mark probably knows that because when I mentioned Elliot Randall, Mark says, "Yeah, I've heard him."
Of course, he knows it. Yeah.
Yeah. So after that, he became a musical consultant on SNL. So I don't know if he's in the credits somewhere. Yeah. So so at this point, you know, he's gone on other things, a lot of jingles, a lot of commercial work, soundtracks, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he's also an instrument consultant for like Akai, Roland, all these other things. So yeah, someone who had a weird sense of the music business. When I read, you know, he never wanted to join anything too permanently, so maybe he never had to. But
wow.
Yeah, but he's got the
cool
distinction of being known as playing considered one of the best guitar solos in modern rock history.
Do you want to go into your one-hit wonder and see? See what we can do there.
Yep. Because time is going here because we've been on for a while. So
we're at an hour and a half, pretty much an hour and 20-something minutes.
That's the usual. So this song, I believe it's in a one-hit wonder. A songwriter performer. It came out in 1978, and I've also called this my first makeout song.
Give me a sample of it. See if I can guess it.
I'm going to now. Someone may have a contention saying he had other hits, but I don't think he had another U.S. hit.
Right. If it didn't crack the top 40, that's a one-hit wonder. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. The top 40 is technically a hit, right?
Yeah, that's what I think. You know, this thing's in the top 100, but this was actually this cracked. Well, we'll talk about it after. All right, so let's see if we can get this.
That's I'm a nut. I'm a nut.
It is
That
not.
was,
It is not Leroy Pollins. No.
Ooh.
Yeah, that might be Stevie. It might be Stevie Nicks in the backgrounds on there too.
What is that? I've heard that 100 times.
The song is called "Magnet and Steel."
Yes. Yeah,
By-
it's a really one-hit wonder. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a great recording. It is a great recording.
Yeah,
I hear
yeah.
it frequently.
What's his name?
Walter Egan.
Walter Egan. That guy's
Walter Egan.
famous in certain circles, Walter Egan. Yeah.
Well,
When you think of Warner Brothers and that kind of West Coast stuff, that
Oh, yeah.
guy's there, right?
right. So that came out that was the summer of '78. I remember
Wow.
this distinctly. I love that song.
You are a magnet,
Yep.
and I am steel. That guy was
Yep.
that guy was at the US Festival and stuff playing at.
Probably, I mean, and also
Yeah.
lots of rock and roll '70s rock and roll TV shows.
Yeah.
That was a number 8 on the Billboard Top 100. Number 8. So that's a top 10 hit. One hit wonder. Number 18 on the
One
Easy
hit
Listening
wonder.
chart. Yep. It was number 9 in Canada because they know rock and roll. Mr. Jiggs the chimp. Lancelot Link, secret chimp. Me and the chimp. BJ and the bear.
Walter Egan. Walter Egan. That guy
Walter
was.
Yeah.
His name's been on a lot of records. He was
Yeah,
involved with like Fleetwood Mac somehow, right?
Yeah.
And,
Well, the
those
thing
kind
is
of things.
that album is called Not Shy. It was produced by Lindsey Buckingham. All right. Fleetwood Mac.
There's the connection, yep.
Walter Egan and Richard Dashit, that was the producer of Rumors.
Who was a great friend of Lindsey Buckingham.
Right. And I think
Right.
Richard Dashit's daughter might be Colby Calais, the singer.
I don't know.
She got hits called like Bubbly. She's had some pretty big pop hits in the last 10 years, 15 years. Yeah, but here's something I never knew about him. He was a songwriter too. He has an album. He has a song that he wrote called "Hearts on Fire" that was covered by Graham Parsons on the Grievous Angel album. So
He wrote that?
He wrote "Hearts on Fire." Yeah,
You're kidding.
I didn't know that until today. I didn't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could hear Emmy Lou all over that thing. Yep.
Right. I mean, so for Graham Parsons to cover a song by someone else, I mean, that was a modern day singer.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yes, but he was also after that stuff, he became a latter-day member of the touring band for Spirit. One of my favorite little
Wow.
footnotes in
Well, I
rock and
bet
roll
you
history.
when Graham couldn't find a deal in L.A., he probably went to Walter Egan, and Walter Egan probably helped get him a deal. You know?
Maybe. I mean,
He's
when
like,
did
Graham used to go, I'm looking for a deal. Can you get me a deal? You know.
Wow. When did Grievous Angel come out?
I don't know.
Before-
We'll have
before
to do it.
Well, Graham died, what, 73?
He died in 73 at like 26 years old or
Right.
something.
So Walter Egan wrote that song. Well, it had to come out 72, 71, but Magnet and Steel was 78. So, yeah. You know, one of those
Wow.
guys, yeah, wrote a lot of songs, you know, like
Yeah.
a million people, you know, Hoyt Axton.
Yeah, he
whatever.
was probably like an A&R guy and all those kind of things, you know, producer / engineer and
Yeah.
whatever else.
A network session person. Now that
Yeah.
song, Magnet and Steel, has been used in several movies. Most notably, Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights, great movie.
Great movie.
Yeah.
Burt Reynolds should have won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. He got screwed royally.
yeah.
He got screwed because he was mavericky. Burt Reynolds wasn't a Hollywood guy like that.
He didn't get the respect. Yeah.
He didn't get the
respect.
No, he was his own man. He did his own thing.
Yeah, but also in what was the one where they were in the canoes up in Tennessee and the rivers up
Deliverance.
there? Deliverance. All he did was lay in the boat and go, "Arr!" You know, so, you know, once he broke his leg. Or
Not in the
whatever,
beginning.
You know.
In the beginning, he was
I know,
running
I know.
the show.
But John Voight and Ned Beatty were
yeah.
really, you know, they were the ones that took the movie.
Yeah. He did what he's supposed to do. Yeah. He had a compound fracture, man.
And after his Cannonball Run movies and, you know, the Driving Fast
Sharky's
movies.
Machine. Yeah.
Right. After those, I guess he didn't get respect. But there's some Burt Reynolds movies I really like. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sharky's Machine I like.
The longest yard.
Longest Yard, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I broke his freaking neck.
And he had his shin bone sticking out of his leg for half of Deliverance. Lewis.
That was a great song. You are magnet
Yeah.
and I am steel.
And
yeah.
when I hear it on the radio, the recording still sounds really good. It's a really great production. It's very present. It almost sounds like that Elvin Bishop song, "Fooled Around and Fell in Love." That was produced by Bill.
Yeah,
that was produced by Bill
vein.
Sims.
Yeah,
it's in that vein, but
yeah.
the recording is in that vein where it's mellow '70s, but everything is recorded really well. The drums are recorded really nice. It's a great drum sound. But,
yeah. Well, that song "Magnet Still That" is that West Coast sort of, that's that West Coast thing. Yeah,
yeah.
That's that L.A. thing, or Sausalito, or wherever that studio was that Fleetwood Mac did Rumors.
Burbank.
In Sausalito.
Sausalito, yeah.
Yeah.
Never been there.
Now, I've got a one-hit wonder. Do you want to hear the riff?
Yeah, man. Can I guess
I'll play the opening riff, and you tell me if you know what it is, okay?
I'm ready.
I'm only going to play. I'm not going to we're in enough trouble anyway from me in the beginning. So
remember the old Honeymooners episode of Ralph Cramden's doing Name That Tune?
No.
Well, there's a scene in Honeymooners where Ralph is being coached in all these songs. He's a music encyclopedia. So Ed Norton is helping him do the songs. Ed Norton plays piano, but Ed Norton's warm-up is Swanee River. So before every song goes, dun, 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 Ralph goes, play me the tune. So that's what I'm saying to you.
I only remember the one where they rented they were going to create this product, and it was this thing. It can quarry apple.
It can quarry apple. It was like the kitchen helper.
And he panics on the camera.
How
It can quarry apple. Listen to this. What the hell is that?
It's applause. Mere bag of shells. This Diamond Ring. This Diamond Ring. Gary Lewis and the Playboys.
Yeah, that was Jerry Lewis's kid?
Yeah.
Gary Lewis and the Playboys. That was Jerry Lewis' kid. Snuff Garrett produced that number one hit.
I think
that's one of his. That was racked up another number one hit with that in '66.
And I think it's very possible that Mike Bloomfield has something to do with that. He might have wrote that. He might have written that song.
Well, we better look that up because I don't know about that.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it right now.
Yeah, This Diamond Ring, and find out who wrote it, because if it was Mike Bloomfield, it'd be like, well, shock.
There's something, when I read who wrote that, I'm like, that's kind of unusual. Right. This Diamond Ring, song by Gary Lewis and the Playboys. Let's see. Where's the resource? All right. No. Oh, wait. I was wrong. I was close though. It's a 1965 song written by Al Cooper.
Al Cooper and two other guys, right? Yeah.
Bob Brass and Irwin Levine.
Now, you know who that guy Irv Levine was?
I don't. Tell me.
Click on him. Is he highlighted?
Let's see. No, he wasn't. Let's see.
That guy wrote.
No. Should be. What did he write? No, hold on a second. Irwin Levine, wait. Tie a yellow ribbon round the... That was covered by Don No Soul Simmons.
I don't know who that is. That was my own family senator.
That was David Allen Greer doing the every 1 out of every 1,000 black men is born with no soul, but he's playing all these really whitey songs. He also wrote that was enough to earn my disgust. So, that's cool that you know that. Why do you know that?
But I believe that Snuff Garrett was the producer of that, and that was one of his number one hits in the 60s.
Yes, it was.
Before he did the Cher stuff in the 70s and Vicki Lawrence.
Check this out, dude. Irwin Levine also wrote "I Woke Up in Love This Morning" that the Partridge Family covered.
Partridge Family, yeah.
That's a good song.
Partridge. That's a great song. I woke up in love this morning.
You know, so this say, has anybody seen my sweet gypsy rose?
That's another Tony Orlando, right? Yeah.
He also wrote one of the earlier hits, Candida.
Oh, he wrote Candida? That's my favorite Tony Orlando song.
Yeah.
Oh, my Candida, we could make it together.
He died in 1958 in Livingston, New Jersey, from either heart failure or kidney failure. You pick one. I'll take them both.
Well, yes. So, so there's that connection. Al Cooper was connected with that, but these guys, Yeah. So when I hear these songs
wait.
like "Tie a Yellow Ribbon" or the other one was, I hear like 4-string banjo in there.
Bang, 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 boom, 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 boom. So God,
Yep.
It's almost Tin Pan Alley, and Tony Orlando was kind of like harking back to that era, showbizy kind of guy.
He was a brill building guy too.
Yeah.
Tony
I wonder
Orlando,
if he was the inspiration for the Joe Flaherty's SCTV talk show host character called Sammy Maudlin. That would get really, he would get really emotional. I love you, man. He'd get really emotional on everything.
I don't know.
He'd start crying over a little thing. So guess who played on Gary Lewis and the Playboys on the backing track?
Hal Blaine.
Hal Blaine on bass, Joe Osborne, the great Joe Osborne on bass.
Yeah, it was the Wrecking
bass.
Crew, right? Yep.
Yeah, and Leon Russell played keyboards and arranged the music.
Yep.
So Leon Russell arranged the whole thing. That's
Leon
arranging.
Russell was an arranger. Don't
He was
forget,
an arranger.
like the other week. Remember the other week I had said that Leon Russell was he was hired by to do arranging for Liberty Records.
Yeah, Liberty Records. Yeah. Yeah, now arranging, that's something. There's people who are known just as arrangers, more so than either producers or songwriters. Like Gil Evans, he arranged Sting's version of Little Wing. So Sting had this thing, and he just put this over here, put that over there. Arranging is a whole, like we write songs, it's a whole other thing. Do you put that chorus there? Or do you go to an instrumental break? You do 2 verses and then a chorus, or one.
Well, I didn't even know that Sting covered Little Wing.
In one of our earlier ham radio shows. We did. I mentioned like songs that are just nothing but really great versions of, and Little Wing was one of them. And Sting did a great version with a guitar player, Hiram Bullock, playing guitar.
Yeah.
Hiram Bullock was one of those.
That guy. Yep.
He was on like early Conan O'Brien show. He was the band guitarist or band leader for one of the talk shows. I don't remember which one.
No, I think he was like one of the original guitar players for Dave Letterman.
Maybe. I think you're right. I think you're right. Yeah, you are right. But and I think another New Yorker guy. So he used to play down in Greenwich Village at some of those same clubs, Kenny's Castaways, The Bitter End, etc. But
yeah.
So that was a one. So that Gary Lewis and the Playboys. Okay.
That was the one hit, as far as I know. Yep.
Because I always thought that was them doing Judy in Disguise, but that's not. That's like
that's not. That's somebody else. Yeah.
Schmo. That's what you are.
Yep. But that was Jerry Lewis's kid, apparently, right?
Yeah. And so I thought Al Cooper was one of the writers. I thought it was Mike Bloomfield, or I thought he might have played on it, but that was maybe something else.
Yeah, maybe.
I heard that song.
Check this book out I'm reading.
Ted Templeman.
Yeah.
The producer of Van Halen, amongst many others.
Yeah.
He's back. Mark.
Mr.
Mark.
Smith.
You look different. What did you do?
I took a shower.
I could tell you needed one.
Yeah.
You smelled over here. I can smell you. I have a smell camera on my thing here. Mark, we were in your absence. We were talking about
our one-hit wonders.
The one-hit wonder. Yeah. So you want to know what my one-hit wonder was?
The wonders from the thing that you do. The wonders?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. The wonder of you.
Yeah.
And I'll never know the reason why. Elvis. It was Walter Egan's Magnet and Steel.
I don't think I know that one.
You want to hear it?
Yeah.
Let's get in trouble.
Real quick.
What the hell? We're in enough trouble already from the first segment.
It doesn't matter. All right, forget you ever heard anything. Listen to this.
Okay. All right, cut it before we get in trouble. Yeah, I know that.
Did you see Boogie Nights?
We have no show. We don't have a YouTube show this week. We only have an audio podcast this week.
And Spotify.
So that is the Dirk Diggler theme song.
Yes, it is. It was in Boogie Nights.
Oh, that's right. It was in Boogie Nights. You were just talking about that Burt Reynolds movie, right? Yeah.
May I see it? Here? Please. I'm not going to mention any of William H. Macy's hysterically funny lines from that movie. Because this is still
I felt badly for him, man.
Oh, my God. Yeah, really. Poor guy. Talk about dysfunction.
Boy, I came in on a real high note here. Boogie Nights.
You sure did. Yeah. It was also it was in Deuce Bigelow as well.
Yep. I just have to tell you, I ran downstairs. I unplugged my modem, plugged it back in. We had our lines rewired in our neighborhood. And ever since I rewired, we have terrible internet. So
okay. Also, when you were gone, I was mentioning the guitar player Elliot Randall. That you were aware. You were aware of him. He played the guitar solo on "Reeling in the Years," and which is apparently like one of the best guitar solos in rock. Yeah, he's on 3 Steely Dan albums. But also, I was mentioning to Perry that Jeff Porcaro and David Page asked him to join Toto, and he said no.
That's
I don't know if that was in the formation of Toto at some point during the line there, but but he was a musical consultant on SNL and things like that. But
makes sense because Luke was a real young guy. He was younger than him, so they said.
And he said, like in that Rodney Dangerfield movie, Back to School, he can flunk you, flunk me, flunk him.
Also, going back to Magnet and Steel with Walter Egan, I didn't know until today that he wrote "Hearts on Fire" that Graham Parsons did on the Revis Angel album.
Oh,
so
wow.
He's a song. Yeah, I didn't know that. That's really, really cool. So he goes back on, and he was a member of one of my favorite obscure bands, Spirit. At one point, he joined Spirit, probably after Randy California died.
Yeah,
but the Great Spirit.
The Great Spirit.
Spirit Fingers.
So, do you guys want to review the Johnny Prine record called "The Missing Years"?
Johnny Prine, your old buddy, Johnny Prine.
Yeah. Johnny Prine. So we'll just know that. You guys already know this because you did the research, but it's his 10th studio album. Won a Grammy for Best Contemporary Folk Album in 1991.
Yeah, 91.
John Prine. I'm a huge fan. So I'm not going to review this record. I'm the one who recommended it. That's not my job. It's your job to do that.
Putting us on the hot seat. Shit.
So. But, so you guys know that Roger Waters wanted to produce this record. Michael Kamen wanted to produce this record.
Roger Waters wanted to?
Roger Waters is one of the guys that wanted to produce this record. Yep.
Didn't know that. Wow.
Yep. But so they found out that John Prine somehow found out that a couple of the guys in the Heartbreakers were really big fans and were always at his show. Howie Epstein, the bass player for Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, being one of them, who ended up producing the record.
Yeah. The late, great Howie Epstein.
Yeah, and apparently Bruce Springsteen said, listen, they recorded part of it in Nashville at, what was the studio called? It was really like, the studio was called the Money Pit.
Yeah, the Money
Nashville.
Pit. Appropriate name.
Yeah, but then they said it was mostly recorded at HUH Sound Theater, and which was apparently the bedroom in Howie Epstein's house, and apparently had one of those houses that John Prine said it looked like it was going to fall off the cliff. Like I guess in a Mel Gibson movie.
Yeah.
Wow.
But so that's where most of the recording took place. So Howie Epstein was the producer, and a lot of people, a coterie of they claim it's a coterie, which are all like-minded people.
Oh
came by, So
we're a coterie, the three of us.
Phil Everly was there. Yeah. Phil Everly, Bonnie Raitt, Albert Lee, the great guitar player. You can hear him with
English
Stratocaster style, with those real springy guitars. But Bruce Springsteen said anything. Just let me know. I'll play guitar. I'll sing. I'll do anything. And So I'll let you guys, and Tom Petty, of course, sings on the first tune, Picture Show.
Yep.
So I'm curious. I'm not going to review it. I'm going to curious what you guys think about it.
Also, David Lindley plays on it. We discussed last week on the
David Lindley,
about Jackson Brown's side. Mike Campbell's on it. The legendary
Campbell co-wrote one of the songs with him. Yep.
There's a session bass player that was all over the 70s. Maybe he's not known that well. Bob Glaub.
Yep.
Bob Glaub. He's on it. Ben Montench. Ben Montench is on it. Another heartbreaker. You mentioned Phil Everly and Bonnie Raitt. Okay. May I start? When I was a kid,
I'm curious what you guys think about it. Yep.
I'm going to say first off the bat, I listened to it 3 times. I think it's a great record. It's a really great record. He's something else. I've known his work for some reason. I hate to say this; it's almost blasphemous. I don't know. I don't ever hear Angel from Montgomery ever again. That's one of the. There's something. Something I don't know. It's a psychological. Something that irks me, and I'm not going to get into why.
Yeah,
But
played to death.
It's a great
Covered
song.
to death, played to death. Yeah.
I don't want to. I don't want to see another gray bearded man sing that song.
It's John Prine's "Lucky Man." It's the same as "Lucky Man." You know, I don't want to hear that song ever again. Yeah.
All right. But it's a great song. It can't help but be poignant. But when I was a kid, like we talk about pulling out the record sleeves and seeing who the artist rosters were. And I always remember, who's John Prine? I couldn't, the guys of that vein, because my exposure to country music was, something like the Conway Twitties. And as a kid, I didn't mind it. I didn't get it. It didn't sound like, the Beatles or the Stones to me. And as a young boy going to teenage, it was a country. I didn't know what it was. I knew singer-songwriters, but I didn't hear much John Prine growing up. No one in my family had any records by him. Certain songs I knew. But when I heard it as a kid, I used to call it fuddy-duddy music. I used to call it old fuddy-duddy music. Because it had what they call it the rocking chair blues, But as I've grown older and I've matured and you listen to other music, and especially where I live in Asheville, it's a big Americana singer-songwriter thing. His influence is ridiculously huge. I mean, I can hear it in everyone that plays down here. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to write a John Prine-style song. And the way he does it,
they want to weave the lyrics in.
The storytelling and his language, the rhyming schemes, the whole thing. The music itself is great. The musical accompaniment is great. He's one of those guys as a singer. He knows how to use. I'm going to say the limitations of the voice he had. There's Roy Orbison's, and then there's John Prine's and Townes Van Zandt. I think John Hyde.
But he has great melody. He has great
melody, but he knows how to write songs to his voice.
Yeah.
And that's the brilliance behind it. This is a solid collection of songs. I mean, there's some, and a lot of them I heard, like A Big Old Goofy World. I've heard that many songs. I didn't know what album it was on.
Yeah, and it's actually about his mother who loved crossword puzzles. So so those kind of he writes things about, and I mean they mean different. These songs mean different things to everybody. Some of these songs here are breakup songs. Yeah. Right.
Like it's the missing years of Jesus Christ. You listen to it. There's that story. Like, what did Jesus do between
the missing years?
Yeah. What did he do between his early teenage years and when he was starting his ministry at 30? Jesus. I'm convinced he was in the Far East getting instruction from the mystics, but But according to the song, he was actually discovered the Beatles and recorded them. So it's just totally goofy stuff. But it's evocative, it's poignant, it's quaint at times. I mean, there's some things that it's like. I use the term rocking chair blues as a positive thing. It's laid back music. It's something I wouldn't. Well, for example, after I heard the record, I listened to it like every time. Other singer-songwriters of that vein will pop up. I heard some Buddy Miller. I heard some Buddy and Julie Miller. A guy named Chris Stamwell or something. I'll look him up again because he did a really some other good stuff. But I'm like, in its time and its place, it's good. It's very well crafted. Now, I will say this in relations to the Jackson Browne record. Mm-hmm. This makes Jackson Browne sound like the Sex Pistols, okay?
This makes Jackson Browne what?
It sounds like the Sex Pistols. It's not. I wouldn't say it's boring. It's very. I mean, it's mellow. It is what it's supposed to be. You could go to a show. John Prine shows were civilized. You sat in a theater and you listened to it,
and you listened to him describe what's happening before every song. Yeah.
Nobody was messing with you on either side of your seat. That kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It was just it's classic American. He's a classic American songwriter,
and he was funny. Yeah.
He was very funny. That wry wit.
Yeah.
Is he?
He was a former letter carrier.
Right. Like Tom Spallone. He's gone postal.
Yeah.
Did he ever? Is he inducted into anything that we know of? I mean, it's not. I wouldn't call it rock and roll.
I'm sure.
No, well, I mean, he won a Grammy for contemporary folk.
Sure.
So no one knows.
Yeah.
Is he a country artist? Is he a folk artist? Is he a pop artist? He's all of it.
Yeah. But and his songs have also been covered, by many people.
Many times, yeah.
And now the musical accompaniment on this record is really good. I mean, it's like I said, these players on this know what to do and they know how to do it.
Well, right off the bat, on the first song, Picture Show, you hear Ben Montench right off the bat on the organ, and the way this guy plays organ is perfect. It's so subtle.
Always.
Yeah.
Right. unlike Bon Jovi's keyboard player.
It's not well. He knows his place. In the music, he knows where to go. He always did, and even in the Heartbreakers when it was more rock and roll, it just wasn't. Yeah, it was where it was supposed to fit. I think also after hearing this, I mean, John Mellencamp has been influenced greatly. I'm surprised
John Mellencamp co-wrote a song with him on there. Yep.
On this record. I didn't look at the writing credits, so okay, because I can hear.
Take a look at my heart. That's co-wrote with Johnny Mellencamp. Yeah,
that's one of my favorite songs on the album. Yeah. I don't know when the Lonesome Jubilee by Mellencamp came out. Maybe around the same time, but you can hear the influence. You can hear the influence John Prine has had on these people. But there's some. I don't have the cuts in front of me, but I was just thinking.
Let me play a sample of Picture Show right here. Right off the bat, you'll hear Ben Montench and Albert Lee.
A young man from a small town with
a very large imagination. Yep.
Yeah. Got the lyrics in front of me.
Tom Petty sings on that song, and I better not play it. I better not play any more of it. But you hear distinctly Tom Petty. You hear distinctly Bruce Springsteen singing on the song he sings with Bruce. Distinctly, these guys just wanted to be there. They just wanted to be there. And the second song, "All the Best," it's a breakup song. It's a breakup song. I wish you happiness. I wish you all the best. It's a breakup song.
Mm-hmm.
You want to throw some comments in there, Mark? Or
you're right.
Overall, Lou, what'd you think as far as all in all? Would you?
Well deserving of its Grammy. I think it's a great album.
Well deserving of its Grammy. Yeah.
And especially in its genre.
Every song happens to be folk this time.
It's electric folk. I mean, like I said, the first song's got a nice, pretty full drum kit on it. There's some stuff. There's some electric guitars on it. It's aspects are Americana, alt country.
And I've always been a fan of the way John Prine picks the guitar.
Yes.
I don't know if it's the Piedmont style or whatever you call it, but I like the way he picks guitar.
Yeah.
And he does a lot of guitar picking, by the way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And let's not try to put him in a genre because I hate that. It's like we have to pick something. Is he folk? No.
Right.
Is he country? Really? Nah.
Right. The Grammy people didn't know what to do with him, so they put contemporary folk.
Yeah.
Which means it's not the Kingston Trio, but it's more modern.
It's not. Yeah. I mean, what would you call it? American singer-songwriter, but that's very large category too. I
call it Prine. Prine.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, this guy was great friends. He was best friends with Steve Goodman, who died way back then. Who wrote a lot of songs. The City of New Orleans being his biggest, probably.
Mm.
And sadly, John Prine was the victim of the COVID-19.
Yeah, John Prine. Yep.
Probably vulnerable to it. He was a cancer survivor. But he had to live through that. He had to live through that twice. And I read where his wife got it, and then he got it with hospitalized. That was sad.
So my thing with John Prine is I really knew nothing about him. How I knew what John Prine, what he looked like was I had a Yes album or an ELP album. Remember when Atlantic and Atco would put on the inner sleeve all the pictures of current releases?
I was telling Perry this. I was that's you see him from that.
They'd be advertising for their other releases. Yeah.
So I always used to see the one for his first album where he's sitting back in the car with his feet up, and I always said, "Man, that guy looks cool," But I never heard him. And then I think years later, I think Perry, you might have played me a couple songs of his, but it didn't really get on my radar so much.
Mm-hmm.
Of all people, my son, he just started he's big on Pandora, and so he's listening to the station. He's like, "Dad, John Prine comes up a lot, and I like him." So I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I went on Spotify and I started listening, and I did get into him. Like I was like, "Oh wow, this guy's really good." But I didn't listen to this album. I thought I had to listen to the '70s albums. Big difference with the '70s albums is the production was totally different. Kind of thin, whatever, but it was still great music. So, oddly enough, and I was going to say is that before COVID hit, I had actually bought tickets to see John Prine in Philadelphia, and me and my son were going to go down, spend a weekend, just go down there, go see the Liberty Bell and all that. Go see John Prine. It was in an outdoor park, and he died. It was like, oh, bummer.
Yeah. In fact, he was supposed to play at in Rockland County, where those fairgrounds are, sort of by the you know what I mean, right? The Germanic
3 miles away from
fairground.
me.
Yeah. I've been there for shows, and of course it was canceled because of the COVID. But John Prine was supposed to play there. Yep.
Wow. Steve Forbert played that place a lot. So anyway, I started listening on Spotify, and what hit me is when Picture Show comes in right away. Whoa, production is different. It's like, this is a full-throated production, but it's not slick.
It's not folk music,
No, but it's not slick either. It's just, I said, this is what John Prine needed, Thank God for Howie, for doing this album.
Yeah.
And me being a movie buff, Picture Show, the lyrics are great. It just goes right to me and stuff. And so I was drawn in. I've only had a week, so what I did is, on Tuesday, after listening to it on Spotify, I actually ordered the CD. And what great packaging. I'm doing this the whole show, but, it's great packaging, and it's a damn good price. It was $11.
But who refers, it's an old, who refers to a movie, do you go, I'm going to the Picture Show tonight?
Yeah.
That's an old-fashioned term,
Just like the movie The Last Picture Show.
Right,
yeah. So I every song on this album I like. In fact, probably the song right now that I least like, but I don't not like it, is the Lefty Frizzell cover, I Want to Be With You Always, because it's kind of like different.
He does that New Orleans style,
yeah. And it's still great, I'm sure, but I'm getting into the stuff like All the Best and stuff. So the lyrics, this is the Prine album where the lyrics really jumped out at me. So on All the Best, there's one lyric that just came to me. It says, I guess that love is like a Christmas card. You decorate a tree, you throw it in the yard.
Yep.
It decays and dies, and the snowmen melt. To me, that's just awesome. That's a great lyric.
And apparently John Prine was one of those guys that left the Christmas tree up all year round because all the time he just liked them. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot, yeah. Then what I was surprised, I really took off on Sins of Mephisto.
Sins of Mephisto,
right? And then I read that was they spent over a year recording the album.
We need 2 more tracks. Yeah.
After spending
12.
Yeah.
And John Prine tells him, you can autopsy me. You won't find any more songs in there, man.
He comes up with this freaking great song. It's awesome.
He said he locked himself in a hotel room and came up with it. And what I like about it is I'll play it. It's got a click track, and it's pretty much the song.
Mm-hmm.
That's the lead into the song. Probably a drum machine.
What a great guitar!
A great hook.
Yeah. And there's a great line in that.
Oh, sorry. Sally used to play with her hula hoops. Now she talks to therapy groups.
That's great.
And here's a great line. Grandpa's on the front porch staring at a rake, wondering if his marriage was a terrible mistake. This guy can rhyme, man.
Great. And then what's the golf course reference?
And it would sound silly and stupid if anybody else did it, but it's John Prine, right?
Yeah. And then speaking of, the only song I knew off this album was the Jesus, the Missing Years. And just when I first heard that song, the first line, it was raining, it was cold. West Bethlehem was no place for a 12-year-old. I was like, I'm hooked. This is a great song.
Yeah.
And the other line was Jesus didn't need this shit.
But I'm still getting into the whole album. I can sit and listen to the whole album, but I'm not getting deep into the songs. It's going to take me months. This is I would say, and I haven't heard all his albums, and a lot of people told me the last album he did before he died was fantastic. I haven't heard it. I would venture to say this will probably be my favorite John Prine album.
Yeah, well, this is before he really got sick, so his voice was still there.
Yeah.
He really was a weakened singer in the later years.
Mm-hmm.
But wasn't it like a perfect storm that... Yeah. But it was like a perfect storm that he was kind of like, his popularity dwindled. Howie said, I want to do an album. It was the perfect time. They did this, great production, good, just a good, I play it on a real high-end system. It's a great produced album. Really good.
Oh, yeah.
It's a great sounding record.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
For
And I
instance,
also-
Big Old Goofy World, right?
Yeah,
Big Old
yeah.
Goofy
Yeah.
World. It's
What's
a
my favorite?
simple little song. And it's got like a drone in it. I kind of like that little drone in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think Dave Lindley, of course, was on this record, and he may have played the bassoon on it or something.
That's got great lyrics too. It's a big old goofy world.
Yeah.
I want to start reading them all. You know what I also like was when you recommended it after the show. Anthony comes up and hangs out, and I said, "Anthony, did you ever hear the Missing Years from John Prine?" He goes, "No, not really." And he's looking on the phone, and he says, "It's got Bruce Springsteen on. He lists all the people." Said, "Oh, is it one of those duets albums?" "Oh no, I don't want." No, nobody on this album is overpowering. It's John Prine.
It's him.
And I didn't even know, like, Perry, you told me tonight that Albert Lee's on the first song. I didn't even know he was on it.
Albert Lee's on a lot of songs on it, yeah.
Yeah, so, and I don't hear Bruce Springsteen. I hear him, but like, he's not overpowering, so.
Yeah, yep.
But I give it.
Here, I'll play you
some
the
out.
little thing with Bruce Springsteen in it, right? And you can
Yeah.
hear him singing.
You're gonna get it together and find yourself all alone. You're going places I've been to.
There's Bruce.
Yep.
Take a look at my eye.
You can hear him
Bruce.
distinctly.
Okay.
You can hear him distinctly. And that song was co-written with Johnny Mellencamp. Yeah.
Yep. Which, by the way, John Mellencamp, I have really started liking a lot more in the last 5-6 years.
He became like a John Prine sort of Americana sort of. I mean, granted, he had his pop success and he had no control over it, right? I mean, he was Johnny Cougar and he couldn't control that until he took control of his career, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Even some things on like the Lonesome Jubilee, that you can hear the John Prine influence and other
That's a great
and
album.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did a song with Bruce Springsteen, I think last year. Got the name. I think it's a Mellencamp song. I believe. I don't think it's a co-write. And it's a great song. Yeah.
It is, and his last album, he's starting to get that Bob Dylan sound because he was on Mark Maron's show, WTF, and Mark remarked that, like, before the show, he's out back smoking cigarettes. Like, the guy won't give up smoking. And so you listen to the last album, he's like, singing, but the songs are still great. Yeah.
Now, there's a song called Great Rain, and it was written with Mike Campbell, and you can hear Mike Campbell right off the bat. It's Mike Campbell. It's Mike Campbell.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
Yep. But the song for me is Way Back Then. That song is that's one of those songs that stops me in my tracks, man. And I'm like, holy shite. It's one of those songs that can just stop you. Like, like Mom and Dad's Waltz from Lefty Frizzell. That just stops me in my tracks.
Yes.
And this is Way Back Then is one of those songs. I might have a little sample of it to get more trouble. Beautiful song. Beautiful freaking song.
Baby's sleeping. Brother is on the run.
Yeah.
I am out undoing all the good I've done.
Baby's
little lines are great.
sleeping. Brother's on. Oh, yeah.
If you loved me, tell you what I would do. Wrap the world in what? Silver foil. Bring it home to you. I mean, that's just really good stuff.
Yeah.
That intro could have come out of the 1800s.
Yeah.
It could have, absolutely. Yeah. It could have, Yep.
Yeah. So, Pete for him. Perry, I know why you told me it's your favorite John Prine album.
Yeah.
I know why. Yeah.
And there's a song, Unlonely. He sings with Bonnie Raitt.
That's one of my favorites on the album.
You Got Gold. He sings with Phil Efferly.
Yeah.
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 Yep. I better leave it at that because I'll get in. I mean, we may not even have a YouTube show this week, man.
Listen, there's some lyricists, if I start talking about their songs too much, I start to cry. That's one of them.
Yeah. But that song Way Back Then is like, damn, it stops me in my tracks, man.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to laugh. It takes a train to cry.
Yeah, you go. By the way, I think that if Roger Waters had produced it, it probably would have still been good. But I think if Michael Kamen produced it, I don't know how that would have worked out.
Who's Michael Kamen produced?
He's a conductor now. He did that that Queensryche song.
Wait.
Silent
He's
Lucidity.
like a train conductor.
No, orchestral.
He's an orchestral conductor.
Right.
He worked with Pink Floyd. That was like his big start, but he did Silent Lucidity. He was like the rock and roll orchestra guy.
Okay.
Rock
All
band,
right.
and he's was really good at what he did, but I can't see him mixing with John Prine. I don't know, So
Does
thank
Roger
God
Waters-
Howard kept it.
Does Roger Waters have any production experience that would lend itself to that type of music?
Just being the dictator of Pink Floyd. And
Just
he did
being a
good.
brilliant
Yeah, but
songwriter and a musician, I got
Probably just being a fan of the things he was hearing. From,
Yeah.
There's the thing we don't know about these guys. Like
Oh yeah,
you would think Roger Waters, you'd be like, oh, this guy must hate the Beatles, but who knows, right?
Yeah.
And when I say dictator, I was being funny because the whole Pink Floyd thing. But he has a vision for what he wants, and maybe the reason he hasn't really produced anybody is maybe he would have clashed with John Prine. Like he would say, "This is what I want you to sound like," and John Prine might have said, "F
But
you,"
also
and walked out.
the reviews on this record, right? All Music gave it, 4.5 stars. Robert Christgau gave it an A-. Chicago
A-.
Tribune, 4 stars. Entertainment Weekly, A-. Encyclopedia of Popular Music, 4.5 stars. So it's just a great record.
Yeah. I give it 5.
Robert Christgau gave it an A-. Yep.
Robert, he's a thorny reviewer. The things he likes, he's pretty accurate about a lot of things. He was not always that forgiving to Jackson Browne. He gave him a lot of B+.
Well, here's what he said about the record. He said, music critic Robert Christgau wrote, occasionally too fantastic, but never too bitter.
Yeah.
Yep. He said he's the funniest of New Dylans, writes like he's resigned to an unconsummated life and sounds like he's enjoying one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep. He was considered one of the New Dylans when he was coming up.
Yeah. Yep.
And Dylan claims to be a fan as well.
Dylan, because they're wordsmiths, but the weaving is the way they weave.
It sounds effortless, it's just the way the facility of language.
Yep. So we're over 2 hours, guys. We're at 2 hours and 8 minutes.
Okay, so I just want to announce something. I'm putting in my 2 weeks notice. I'm out of here now. When we meet next week,
no bobblehead for you.
I will have seen when we meet next week.
Mm-hmm.
Fulfilled one of my dreams on my bucket list. I never thought I'd be able to see him, but I'm going to be seeing Porcupine Tree this week at Radio City Music Hall. That is Steve Wilson's band.
Nice.
Along with my son, and I saw that, I thought they were broken up forever. So you're probably going to see me like in a daze. It's going to take days to get out of that one. But
you're going to have to talk about it. You got to talk about it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It's hard to put a great, I could still tell you right now that Roger Waters concert. That Roger Waters concert was one of the biggest shows of my life.
You're not going to be like those douchebags who hold up their phone, right, and go, "Look, I'm over here." Like, you'll have to turn in your phone, maybe, right?
Yeah. But like you guys asked me something about the Roger Waters show. I can't put it into words. It was I'm 53 years old. That concert, out of all the Roger Waters shows I saw, was probably my favorite, and it was one of my favorite of all time. But I can't put into words why I like it. So all I'm probably going to say is it was great. That's all I'm going to say, But you know how it is with live shows. You got to be there,
Yeah.
So.
Or you have to digest things, and there is something you might see or hear that later on, and it's John Prine record. You're going to find lyrics, and a lot of other radio, like another one. All
right, I'm going to click in the closing theme, guys. All right.
We're on Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podchaser, Pocket Cast, Overcast. We're also on YouTube, I think. Maybe not this week, but we are on YouTube. So if you like us and subscribe to us. We could use your support. We do this for you and us as well.
I see Mark Smith jamming.
He's doing it. All right. This is Music Relish Podcast.
This is
the Music Relish Podcast coffee mug.
This is wine.
This is a really shitty beer.
That's Australian wine.
Kitty beer.
Mark, it's a Mickey's Big Mouth. Somebody gave it to me. It is horrible. It is horrible.
Oh, and I also said to Lou while you were off that you can't always get what you want by the Rolling Stones. Al Cooper played the French horn, piano, and organ on that song.
I did not
Along
know
with
that.
Jimmy Miller on drums. Right?
And Mark Perry's one-hit wonder was "This Diamond Ring" by Gary Lewis and the Playboys, song written by Al Cooper, Irwin
By Al
Levine,
Cooper.
and some other guy named Mr. Something. But yeah,
That could
with
be
the record,
included in
yeah.
Italo Rock.
Italo Rock. Oh
Kind
wait,
of.
when we did the Italo Rock,
No,
that was on
no,
the
no.
old. That was on the ham radio show, right?
that's right. That was 3 soup cans and some string.
We got to redo that one.
Well,
Upcoming
you know what?
episodes, bubblegum music.
Bubblegum,
music.
yeah.
You need to know
Record
have-
producers,
record
songwriters.
producers, songwriters.
Yep.
We're going to have
More
the
one-hit
Redux. We're going to do the Redux episodes. Mellows?
Yeah,
Yeah, they're going to be
Relish
Redux. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bubblegum
With edit-
Redux.
with added footage.
Bubblegum Redux.
That's when we can't think of anything. We'll just redo.
Music Relish, love us and subscribe. There's a love button on YouTube.
Is there really?
No, there should be.
Good night.
Good night.
Farewell.